Triple M Sunday Sin Bin.
And a very good afternoon right across Australia and the East Coast and New South Wales, Queensland, or everywhere you are via the Listener app. Download it now. It's the Sunday Sin Bin, Mitsubishi Triton. You can't frighten a Mitsubishi Triton. Now, before I go to the boys, the scores so far: Storm 15, Souths 14, Panthers 20, Dragons 16, Roosters 26, Manly 12. Then yesterday, Titans got over the Warriors 20-18, Sharks on the bell over Para. And then we had the Cowboys 26, the Raiders 6. Knights, Tigers will play today and tonight. Doggies, Broncos, and I know all the Rabbitohs supporters will be right behind the great Adam Reynolds. We wish you all the best, old mate. We hope you win and we hope you do well with the Broncos because we love you very much. Now, we've got plenty coming up today, including we're going to talk about this concussion, all these concussion protocols. It's got a couple of the guys up in arms, so we'll do that. We'll have a little bit of fun with Maroon's trivia. We'll talk about the Cowboys and their big win over the Raiders. Let me introduce you to the panel of experts. Gordon, Tallis, how are you, old mate?
I'm really good, Maroon. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, it's fantastic. Round 2, loving the footy, loving the girls. Games at the moment, rugby league couldn't get any better.
Yeah, well, I didn't know where you were going with that.
Loving the girls. Games.
He's right. That game yesterday, that was a cracking game.
Yeah,
Titans and the Broncos.
I think that's only the second time the Broncos have been defeated.
Yeah.
Good save.
Yeah.
Paul Kent, welcome to you from NRL 360.
Thank you for having me.
Gee, Braith's going good, isn't he?
He's fine. Yeah, he's doing a very good job. So really happy with how he's going. It keeps the show moving along, so that's all we want.
And
we get through it a bit quick sometimes, but yeah, it's going good.
You know what my wife says about Braith? Quote unquote, oh, he's a real looker, that one. So you get he's
it's good to get a looker on the show because I tell you what, there's been some rough heads over the years.
and triceps hooper for the first time this year.
Afternoon, Anthony.
What happened last week, mate?
Oh, well, mate, COVID, unfortunately. It's obviously put the handbrake on all sorts of people around the world. And, I had a close family contact, so I had to sit inside the quarantine bunker.
Yeah, so you okay now, mate?
Yeah, all good. No, I didn't have it, but, just my daughter had it, so unfortunately had to box a little bit clever.
My thoughts are that if anyone gets COVID, let's give them an extra week off. Let's just, give them extra time. We don't want people in here.
How did you go through COVID?
Yeah.
How'd you go, mate?
He's getting all the big gigs. That's why he's saying that.
He's had more stats than Might and Power over the course of the last couple of weeks. You're loving it.
No, I'm only concerned about the health of everyone. That's my...
and of the country in general.
So are you still carrying around that fake test?
No. He's got a negative test.
His bloodshot eyes running. No, he's got to go to the toilet every 5
He's got a negative test he's carried in his pocket for 6 weeks.
No, I'm all good. I've had it in the off season. So
how'd you go with it? All right?
Oh, mate, I found it to be very painful.
Staying home with the wife.
No, but a week at home, that does kill you, doesn't it? We're not allowed out of the house. How did you go with that, Hoops? Because not that it's anyone's business, but there is a pub not far, right across the road.
Well, I was banned from entering the premises, Anthony, because of the restrictions. So, just had to sit inside and watch a lot of rugby league. Thankfully, cracking games. And same again this weekend. The product's really producing since the season started. So.
I've just one more thing. I've obviously seen your lovely wife walking around Centennial Park where I frequent, and she does, and often we catch up. And I know she got you some exercise equipment for Christmas, and by golly, you've been using it. They are not triceps anymore. They are triceratops. They are fanning and bursting out of your shirt.
Anthony, this show's not about me.
Well,
it's about
it is
the
today, brother.
NRL, but I'm glad you've raised that. People don't really care.
No, well, they do.
So let's get on with it.
And his wife's loving your new balaclava too. And you've changed bushes. You just
how's your wife? Has her face healed yet? Is she okay?
What are you talking about?
The gas bottle incident.
Oh, mate, too soon, Maroon.
Oh, come on, mate.
How dare you?
No, nothing's too soon in here.
Too soon, mate.
Look, what we'll do is we'll take a break.
She nearly blew herself up and you're making jokes about it.
Well, mate, I've got to get him first, Paul. You know how it is.
Why have you got to get him
I've got to
first?
come out swinging, mate. I've got to get him first because I get mobbed, I get ganged up on. So, right, you know what? If there was an incident at his house with a gas bottle, that's his bad luck, right? When he comes in here, that's his bad luck. Anyway, boys, we'll all love each other. Let's take a song. We'll come back and talk about the Sharkies getting their first win. It's the Sunday Sin Bin on Triple M, thanks to the Mitsubishi Triton, engineered beyond tough. And the team today, Gordie, Tallis, the originals. Gordie, Tallis, Paul Kent, James, Triceps, Hooper, and Maroon. Lots and lots to talk to. Let's start with that game last night. The Sharks getting a win over Para, 20 points to 18. Teague Wilton getting a try right on the stroke, full time. And look, before I go to you boys, let me go to the audio of Brad Arthur talking about where he thinks it all went wrong for Para.
Thought we were beaten physically in the first 40 and probably went a bit lateral, but I was happy with the effort. The effort was there. Didn't really feel like we matched them physically. Thought we played sideways, not direct, which suits us. And we've got to be that team that starts physical, looking to grind instead of just all out footy.
Okay, well, I guess, look, they just about had it, didn't they? It was one of the last plays of the game. Teague Wilton went over for a try. You boys saw the game. Obviously, Gordie, two teams that are going to feature at the back end of the year.
Yeah, it was a great contest, wasn't it? It was Dow that they got into each other, and I think the Sharks have shown that they're not going to go away, and the defence is absolutely spot on. But Parramatta, I think, just listening to Brad Arthur, they played the Titans last week, and when they shot out to 14-0 or whatever, it's like they want to still play pretty, and it's not enough just to get the scoreboard there and just go back to grind and just keep on restarting the game, and it's really hard to do. And then I think that's what Brad Arthur's talking about, that they just didn't want to get into the wrestle yesterday as much as he would have liked.
They've had that problem for some years. He spoke about that before, that they tend to have this habit of trying to finish the game start the game how they finished the week earlier.
Yeah.
And that's why Parramatta's form gets a little bit up and down at different times. But the other thing too, Gordon, is he talks about playing direct, and they wanted to play. They began to play too sideways. That's a real indication, I think, of character in teams. Because the easy way is to play sideways, because that's why you avoid the collision and the contact. Like the tough one, to just stick the ball on your arm and keep playing direct and going to the line and getting into the line and digging deep there.
Well,
that's where nearly every game is game plan to win, and both teams go out and basically it becomes a bit of a war of attrition until one team begins to wilt. And so it's like who can do it the longest before you take your hand away from the flame, so to speak. And that's the last thing I think Parramatta have got to get to.
Well, that comes down to their halves. So when they say they play lateral, they're the ones that call the ball.
It also comes down to your fortitude too. You know what I mean?
And intestinal fortitude to want to stay and hang in there. But then that's what happened. And I keep on, and the more I watch the game, everybody wants to win pretty, and everybody wants to scoreboard and all that.
Because there's less bruises. That's why.
Yeah, but you've got to get bruises.
I know that, but that's why.
What's the old line? You'd rather lose ugly than...
Yeah, mate, they win pretty. And then, and I see it creeping into the game, and that's why Melbourne Storm will always be competitive, because there's no option for those guys. And I remember playing, and I don't want to keep on going back, but we had to go forward. And Wayne, you say, if you want the ball, you go get it from dummy half. So when our wingers and centres, hey, boys, if you want the ball, get in there at dummy half and take a hit up. So we're not going to play pretty early. And then after 25 minutes, when we've set a foundation and a platform, and there was a saying at Elf, let's beat them early and score our points late, where a lot of people want to score the points early type of thing, where you don't have to, the scoreboard doesn't have to be ticking over in your favour if you're doing the right thing, and that's what the mentally tough sides do.
Yeah, it's a mindset.
Listening to Brad Arthur, I think what would have disappointed him the most was the fact that Cronulla actually scored 4 tries. The Eels only scored 2. I know there was only 2 points in the game. It came down to Hines kicking that great goal after the siren had sounded. But he would have been most disappointed about the way that the Eels leaked their points, and even the points that they did score. Well, that try that they scored on the stroke of half-time, as entertaining and as genius as it was very much pulled out of the trick kit bag. It was Mitchell Moses playing off the cuff, finding Clint Gutherson, and then obviously going over himself. But I wouldn't be too worried if I'm the Eels. I still think that they're a damn good side. They've got a lot of good players to come back into their team.
But he's just, the message that he just sent them then, and I like that. Like Nathan Brown's press conference too, to say it out in public, everybody knows now. So he's just put his side on notice. And, you can talk behind doors, and that's where a lot of it is now. But sometimes the players don't want to listen. So to let everybody know, well, that's the standards that we're trying to set here. Well, the fans can sit there and watch it, and the media know what he wants as a coach. So he's basically saying, this is what I want my team to do. So if they don't, it's not Brad Arthur's fault, because he's telling them what they want to do. It's the players' fault.
So, boys, let's if I just pull these two teams apart for a minute, Cronulla, now we've seen them lose one on the bell, win one on the bell. Obviously, Fitzy wasn't there last week for the game. In the big scheme of things, that probably is not going to mean anything. Do you think they look a lot different, PK, from what you saw last year?
Yeah, I've sort of been saying that since I saw them playing the trials. They just seem more physical. I think they're fitter. They're a little bit tougher. They're just playing nice, aggressive defensively. Nico Hines is still obviously learning the halfback game, but he's a tremendously talented player. He's going to be what they need there. Much of what happened yesterday sort of came about because of him. And they're a side that you can see their attitude in defence, I think, is the big improvement you see in Cronulla. And it's not just all aggression. The way they just work as a unit, the cohesion in the defensive line, all those little subtleties that sort of get overlooked in a lot of things. You can see Craig Fitzgibbon has come in from the Roosters where they put so much emphasis on their defence, and he's just basically began training and schooling the Cronulla players up the same way. And look, it's not going to. They're not there quite yet, but you can certainly see that they're heading in the right direction. And the thing about any club, any coach, all you want to see is improvement. If you see improvement, fans are happy. It's when you don't see improvement or effort that the fans tend to get upset. And Cronulla fans, I think, have got a lot of reasons to be happy at the moment.
Yeah, and I think if, like, Cronulla's always fought over a bone and it didn't have to be much meat. They've been that real tough, gritty side, drag you down to their level and beat you on experience type of team. But now with Nico Hines and a new recruit and, you know, a fresh young coach that's given them, you know, like a plan and a defensive plan where, you know, you can cover up a little bit more and you've still got to work hard for each other. Well, you saw that in spades yesterday.
Well, the year that they won the premiership in 2016 and finally turned the porch lights off, we all remember that side. Like, that side was a brutal, drag you down into an arm wrestle, tie up the ruck, anything goes. And, you know, they were well known and renowned as being one of the grittiest and toughest teams in the competition. I think they're showing signs. They probably went away from that a little bit over the course of the last 3-4 seasons.
They certainly did.
Whatever reason.
They certainly went away from that.
But I think the point I make it is I think where Craig Fitzgibbon wants to take them is back to that side, but then in attack, and he's got these two ex-fullbacks in Hines and Matt Moylan playing in the halves. They're providing something a little bit different.
Yeah, well, sometimes, like, it's famous. Like, you don't coach skill, you go buy it sometimes. Yeah, I mean, so you buy those real tough players, and then that's what Cronulla's got. Then you go buy Nico Hines, you buy that flashy X-factor player and slot them in, and then they got to do, you know, like the team things first, and then they get them out of the Melbourne Storm system, which they do all those, you know, tick all those boxes.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great recipe.
That's an interesting point, Hoops, isn't it? Now, some clubs have gone out in the off-season and bought half a dozen players or more, where they've gone out and hand-selected just the one or two that they need.
Yeah, well, there's no secret. Rival clubs love trying to pick Melbourne Storm players out of that system because they know they're going to come extremely well trained in all the fine-tuned areas that you want your players to be on the ball about. So it's the reason why Cronulla went and specifically targeted Dale Finucane and Nico Hines. It's the reason why Wayne Bennett at the Redcliffe Dolphins at the moment is making a massive play to try and get some of the biggest names in Melbourne out of the Storm system at the moment in Harry Grant, Cameron Munster and Jerome Hughes because they know, I mean, he's already done it. He's already got 3 of their starting forward pack for next year, but you know what they're going to bring and you know that they're going to add value out enormously to your side.
Yeah, and they have influence through the squad.
Yeah,
which is important, because particularly in Bennett's case where he's starting a club. But that's what obviously Craig Fitzgibbon went out and purchased too. He wanted someone like Dale Finucane who can come in and we saw this week Craig Bellamy talk about of all the players he's played with, which goes back to some of the great Canberra players with Stuart Daly, Meninga, of all the players he's played with and all the players he's coached, nobody's prepared better for a game than Dale Finucane. So that's what Craig Fitzgibbon's brought into his club, and you've got these young kids coming through now who are going to be looking at this guy who's been around on top of the game now and played as tough as anyone for the last 10, 12 years, and they're going to see what's required to be an elite footballer.
All right, boys, we'll take a little bit of a break and we'll come back. By the way, Sharkies fans, we're going to speak to Craig Fitzgibbon very soon. So stick with us. And this in the hot seat today, concussion protocols. We might have a look at that next with Gordie, Tallis, Paul Kent, James Hooper and Maroon as Triple M rocks the Sunday Sin Bin.
Triple M rocks footy.
Welcome back to it. The Sin Bin is thanks to the Mitsubishi Triton, Gordon, Tallis, Paul Kent, James Triceps Hooper and Maroon. Craig Fitzgibbon will chat to us shortly. Now, just quickly, I'll go through the scores again. Storm 15, Souths 14, Panthers 20, Dragons 16. Then it was Roosters over Manly, Titans over the Warriors, Sharks getting up over Parramatta right on full time, Cowboys 26, Raiders 6. Today, Knights, Tigers and the Doggies, Broncos. And so we look forward to all of those games, those 2 games left this afternoon. We'll have them both for you on Triple M the Triple M network will have those games for you. And like I always say, Origin, finals, grand final, if it happens in rugby league, plus all the shows, it's right here. And you can get it on the Listener app. Before I go any further, you want to say something to you, Hoops.
Just social media's already lit up, Anthony,
Right.
about the dulcet tones of yourself being back on the radio again. So it's been a Maroon marathon, is that right? You've done Friday, you've done Saturday. Deb from Dundas has asked the question, has the Saturday show been renamed the Lemonade Sandwich with Maroon now hosting?
Mate, I just, you know.
What's going on? Why is there so much of you everywhere?
Well, look, it's just that you've had, as I understand, a couple of tiny COVID dramas there at Fox, as we have here, and Dan's obviously got to shuffle the deck chairs over there. He's got it, and then we've had Tony Squires off. So I mean, you know what I mean. You've got perfect guy here to take the ball up. I mean, I've got a pretty hectic schedule myself.
First one that's ever been said about you.
Yeah, and I've been minding the grandkids too, but I just said no. Work comes first. We just left the grandkids with some bloke.
Some
A little way.
Somebody I found on what's that thing you do when you you want a worker?
Tasker.
Yeah, air tasker.
Bring them back when they're 20.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Time for this.
Now, the hot seat. The hot seat.
Yeah, there we go. So this is the hot seat. This is where we're going to talk about the topic. We're going to put the boys under the spotlight and get their thoughts on the concussion protocols at the moment. An independent doctor in the bunker ruling on the concussions. And as somebody just pointed out here, our producer, it's taking the vital players out at the vital times of the game.
So that's your point. Look, the fact is, Nathan Gibbs, who is a doctor, also one of South Sydney's youngest ever captains, who's been around rugby league now for the best part of 40 years at the elite level, can't speak highly enough of the doctor in the bunker. And says the doctor in the bunker actually sees far more than he does as a doctor on the sideline. So I tend to err that way. I get why we're in an uncomfortable period right now, and where we eventually end up is probably not where we're at right now with all this concussion stuff. But we need to start moving in that direction. The impact of all this concussion that we're only learning in the last 10 years or so, the impact of a lot of that is going to be felt years down the line. And it can begin now. I'll be honest, if I had a son, which I don't, but if I had a son, I'd be questioning whether I'd let him play rugby league.
Oh, that's a massive thing for you to say.
Well, for some of the damage I've seen,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of players, ex-players, as I've been around the game now for 30 years, and what's happened to them in nursing homes, and I've
Yeah, but that's not the kids level, Paul, because I've
No,
been
it's
involved
not,
in
Gordon,
kids
but-
level. So like the
Yeah, I'm with you,
so
Gordon.
like,
No, I
don't scare
get
the
that.
parents here. So the NRL,
but
when
no
it's a
one
big
begins
collision,
playing rugby league at 22, Gordon. They start
Sorry.
as kids.
yeah,
That-
and
that's
then
my
like, as a
point
kid,
there.
it's the safest game. Like it is very,
It
very
is
safe.
safe.
The modified
It
game
is.
is really safe.
It is
for
safe
kids.
as kids, but kids
Yeah.
become men,
Yes,
and that's where it happens.
but then you get paid really
Not all.
well.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah, I did.
Well, you
Yeah.
did, but can you tell what? I didn't.
Yeah,
And I played bush football for half a dozen years or so.
For the townies.
Yeah, for the Woy Roosters and you remember Magpies. And let me tell you, the concussions that I saw and I suffered were as equally as serious as they are at NRL level. And that's
Would
the
you- so
point,
you
because
saying
the
you wouldn't
NRL
play-
governs not only the NRL competition, but rugby league through the whole country.
Yeah.
So whatever's happening at NRL level is happening between Woy and Arimba, or between, down at Group 6 or over in Group 10, between Sims and Orange United. The concussions are happening there. So the game has to take care of all those people.
I think there's a simple solution. If you're the coach, it's got to come back to the coach. You are the boss, right? So coaches are the boss. If you are the coach of an NRL side, an under-12 side, under-6 side, A grade in Marimba, Pambler, or wherever you're the A grade coach, and your player goes down, pretend it's your son.
100% good.
That's it. That is the only rule where you're going to make the greatest decision, common sense for that guy, player, young girls' safety moving forward. And I think with the bunker, like we keep on carrying on about letting a doctor rule in the bunker, it lets the doctors at the club keep their integrity like a little bit. It takes
frees them up, Gordon.
It takes them off those guys to deal with,
It takes away the
injury,
pressure they get from the
pressure.
coach's box to leave the player on the field, which they have all privately, not all, but many of them have privately complained to the NRL that they feel. So
their
this
integrity was always
bullshit that the
questioned.
coaches carry on about how we've only got the players' welfare as our top priority is rubbish because their own doctors are privately disputing that.
Yep.
So that's a con job. So the coaches last year had the right to make their own decisions about, through the doctor, whether a player should come off or not. And countless times, Harry Grant got knocked for 6. Got up, fell over, got up, got back in the line, stumbled forward, stumbled backwards, and was kept on for 4 or 5 minutes. Everybody that was watching the game could see he was concussed. But you know why he didn't come off? Because he's in the spine. He's in an important position.
And then Ryan Girdler...
But if he's an edge back rower, he would have been straight off because the time would have been right.
And Ryan Girdler makes some really good points, like a bleeding nose. But your nose is attached to your head. So we can't, I mean...
Well, you got need in the head.
As sad as what it is, but if you've got a bleeding nose, the force is big enough where you've got a hit to the head, go off and just get it treated. And if it's 10 minutes, you're not playing with 12 men, somebody else comes on. And another decision that I liked, actually, I might save it for my BS.
Yeah, all right. Well, hang on. The phones have gone absolutely bunter over this. 133353. Let's go to Botany. Jacob, did you want to add something to this, old mate?
Yeah, fellas. I just wanted to say my young bloke suffered a concussion probably 2 years ago, but he suffered 5 in a season playing for a local junior team. 17 at the time. Wiped him out for the HSC. No accountability by the coach or the club or the junior league at all. It was a case in the grand final. He was seeing double. Told the trainer, and the trainer said, "Mate, we really need you to win. We really need you on to win. Let's stay on."
Yeah, and Jacob, there's too much of that happening, and look, we get the con job about welfare, and look, there are people are coaches who do look after a player's welfare, but I reckon the ratio, I would put them in the minority. I think most coaches sit there and think it's only a concussion, he'll be okay. We really do need to win this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the reality of it.
Thanks for your call, Jacob. Boys, we might have to come back to this because I'm going to have to take a break because at the other side of the break, we will have an interview with the Sharks coach, Craig Fitzgibbon. It's on the way as Triple M rocks the footy. Welcome back, guys. We've been talking a lot about the Central Coast footy and Berkeley Vale Oval on Sunday 10th and Monday 11th, Tuesday 12th of April from 9 till 12 or 9 till 12:30. There's a junior elite training program. A junior elite training program for kids up there around Berkeley Vale Oval or Berkeley Vale Panthers. So that's Sunday the 10th of April, Monday the 11th, and Tuesday the 12th. All right, if you want to get involved in that, let's speak to one of the current NRL coaches and an all-round good guy, Craig Fitzgibbon. Fitzy, welcome to the Sin Bin.
Hey, fellas, how are you?
Hey, mate, it's a good thing you got a win, I'm thinking, yesterday, because in the current environment, if you didn't get a win yesterday, they'd probably be starting the rumours. How long's Fitzy going to last at Cronulla?
Yeah, it was. I suppose it was a bit of pressure around the game. Just coming back to Shark Park was probably the bigger. PointsBet Stadium was the biggest event for everyone, and but it all worked out in the end, only just. But we've managed to find a way there right at the death, and it was an exciting night, that's for sure.
Fitzy, just take us through your first impressions when you got to the club and what you sat down after you had a look at them for a few weeks, what you thought you needed to work on and how that's gone.
Still felt like obviously the junior nursery, I think that's pretty obvious as an attractive point of the club. But the junior players that have grown up together, spent a lot of time there. You know, they've spent a number of years in the junior reps, and when you watch them train and watch them prepare, you can tell there's a real strong connection. I thought that really stood out, and just the vibe around the players and the playing group. And then obviously what we want to work on, want to improve the grit and the competitive nature of those guys, and it takes a few years obviously to get used to the NRL, doesn't it? So obviously with Dale and Cam coming in, that's helped out to probably progress that a little bit.
Hey Fitzy, it's Gorden, Tallis, mate. You did everything as a player in the game. What was different yesterday, the first time you've gone to sit in the coach's box to be the head coach?
Yeah, you feel a bit powerless, Gordie. You know, like where you get to game day and the nerves hit. And I felt more powerless last week sitting at home in the lounge room than I did yesterday. But you work so hard and you put so much into it, and you're so you get really excited throughout the week. You get to game day, you just realise you can't really do a great deal for them anymore. And you're sort of sitting there, and it's just an emotional ride, mate. Versus being a player, at least you can sort of get out there and get into it yourself a little bit. But I've got to say, it was a wild experience to go throughout the day, but was worth it in the end.
Fitz, congratulations. It was a cracking game and a cracking win for the club. Nicho Hines, what made you go after Nicho as hard as you did? And also, what made you believe in the fact that you could play him in the halves? Because predominantly at the Melbourne Storm, we'd seen him in the fullback position.
Well, when watching him play footy, I thought, I think you can clearly see he's a high-level decision maker, and in the halves. One thing about his game, he's very ethical. Like, he's constantly moving, constantly working. He's constantly involved in the game. So that was a big tick. And then if you've got that ethic about you in the halves, but you're a good decision maker as well. And I knew he had history as a half, so I went back and watched all the vision from his. Some Manly vision in the 20s and some Mackay vision up in the Queensland Cup, and I felt like he had the attributes to be able to cover the half. So, and he's a big enough guy to handle the defensive side of things, and he's just a really good footy player when you watch him. But decision making would have been the forefront, I think.
We've talked about the improvement in the team already, and some of the little subtleties that we've seen. And one of the things I've spoken about is the physicality you guys have got in defence. Just take us through what you're trying to get them to achieve and how far away it is from getting to the finished product.
Kenny, that's probably what I really hurt to start the season last week. I thought we prepared in one of the trial matches. We trained and prepared really well, but I just thought we left it in the sheds a little bit down in Canberra, and I knew we'd prepared better than that, and. It's really obviously simple defensive principles that I don't think any NRL team's working on anything different there. And we just needed some traction on it. And yesterday we sort of had to really knuckle down on it against a good team like Parramatta, and they completed really high, and they constantly asked us questions there. So it's just simple stuff, but there's a lot of attitude involved in it as well, I guess.
Mate, what was the most pleasing thing of yesterday's victory?
Well, I think if so far, momentum in games has been pretty big, right? Like the possession and completion sort of things that I know it's a bit cliche, everyone talks about it, but that's sort of won majority of the games so far this season, and we're on the wrong end of both those stats. So against a good team like Parramatta, not a good team, a great team like Parramatta, I was just happy at the way we stuck at it, even though we were behind on those two sort of probably key metrics. We just kept playing. Like, even though we didn't have as much ball, but what we did with it was pretty important. And then when we were defending, they just kept coming and coming and coming, and we just stuck at the plan the whole way. And like I said earlier, it did take the whole game to get it right, but we eventually got there. So.
Teague Wilton came up with the huge play at the end of the game, Fitz, but then obviously earlier in the match, he's ended up with a match review committee charge from that shot on Mitchell Moses when he was kicking the ball. How did you see that one?
Yeah, look, we've got to go through that now to decide what we do there. But he just got it wrong. Like, the attitude was right. We want to put pressure on the kickers, but we would never. I think there was a bit of talk around we were trying to take Mitchell out. That just wasn't the case. It wouldn't have mattered who was kicking the ball. We want to get to the kicker and make sure they have a poor kick, but he got it wrong in that regard and went a bit overboard. And, we talked about it this morning, and how do you safely put pressure on the kickers, force a poor kick or get in the road there. But we've got to look after those guys. And the rules are pretty clear, I think, and the rules are pretty straightforward. You can't gun after that, the legs of the kicker.
There's been a lot of talk around the game in recent weeks, mate, about the concussion protocols and all that. Where do you sit with that?
Haven't had a tricky one yet. We lost Ronnie Mulatalo yesterday, but he got a decent split on his cheek and a big cheekbone welt, and he decided at half time he wasn't well enough to come back out. But that was more internal than the external decision. I think it's right as long as we get the process sorted out, so it happens really swiftly, really quickly. They're either in or they're out. None of the staying on the field for 10 minutes and making a decision later. You just got to get to the decision quicker, whatever that may be.
Well, what is the perfect solution, Fitzy?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Gordon. It's a tricky one because, as you know, the head knocks are tricky. Like how we as coaches and and performance staff at the club. Like, you can't question the integrity of the doctor, right? It's not. We're not, and we want to look after our players, absolutely. So it's going to be a tricky one that we work through until we get it right. But I think one thing that is right, everyone is starting to care for the players' well-being and making sure that we're not throwing blokes out there that are in a state. And the last piece of that is getting the ones that you're using to your advantage out of the game as well. So I don't have a solution, to be perfectly honest.
But it would help if every club was on the same page, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think so. And whether they are or they aren't, I'm not sure. It's pretty new to me. I've sat there probably blissfully unaware as an assistant for so long, and you're just going about your role, and you see the frustrations of the head coaches. And like I said, it hasn't really popped up for us yet. But I know that there'll be a scenario coming that we'll have to deal with. I just have to probably cross that bridge when we come to it.
Fitz, just on the ending to that game, it was obviously an epic finish, and the celebrations looked pretty wild. You hadn't been at your home stadium for a couple of years now. You had 11,000. It was a sellout crowd. What was it like for yourself and all the players in the aftermath?
Yeah, really, really enjoyable experience. It's a tricky one. Like, it meant so much to the area and the club to finally get back here, and the players that have grown up here playing their junior footy, right? So it was a huge event, a huge occasion, and none more so than the fact that we're playing against Parramatta as well, and it was the Johnny Manor Cup. So there's plenty of things riding on the line, but it's really important to celebrate your victories, with humility. But we've got a 5-day tournament. We're on Thursday night. We've got to watch that. We've got to watch that really quickly and prepare for the Dragons, who at this stage of the year they're looking solid. So we've got to get ourselves going pretty quick.
Fitz, you just said yourself, you sat there for a long time as an assistant coach, and the later part of that, you were linked to a couple of jobs, or clubs wanted you. What made this job? Why was this the right time? Why was Cronulla the right fit?
I didn't think I was ready. To be perfectly honest, sort of everyone will tell you it's such a tough job, and it is. So I just felt like I had to be absolutely sure that this is what I wanted to do, and I was capable of doing it, and am I ready? And you never officially know, but I just wanted to get that right. That was one thing, and second of all, I had an agreement with Nick and Robert at the Roosters that I wouldn't leave until I'd served that time that I promised I'd do. So it was pretty straightforward in the end that Cronulla become available, and obviously I had some links to the area. I lived here for 10 years, and obviously my father was here for 7 years, a few as an assistant and coach. So obviously a little bit of familiarity with the area and the club. So I just was excited by the prospects of those players, the young players at the club that have grown up together and now playing NRL. I thought it was too good to say no. And but honestly, I wasn't ready, and I had to fulfill my contract.
Are you the first guy that's ever been ball boy of a club to then go and become head coach?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That'd be an interesting trivia question, I suppose, one day, Ken.
It is a bit of a unique experience, isn't it? Because who was the first grade captain and some of the? I imagine ET would have been around then when you were the ball boy.
Gavin Miller.
David Hatch, actually.
Oh,
David Hatch.
Yeah, the lock.
Yeah.
You mentioned your old man there, and Fitz, and like for people, I guess people even in their 20s wouldn't know that your father was a giant in the game, particularly in and around the South Coast. I wondered, do you still run a few things by Alan, and does he still get in your ear about how to coach?
No, he doesn't give you much. He never has. He's pretty quiet. The old fella. He's a man of few words, really. So if I ask a question or we have a chat about footy, it's he more just listens to me venting about something, and he'll offer something. But no, he's pretty quiet, pretty humble, and he's just happy to support me in whichever direction I head.
I saw your father on the Gold Coast. I saw you your father on the Gold Coast earlier this month. Fits in. I must say, he's very proud.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. He won't like those old footy heads. He's not going to tell me that, but I'm assuming he would be, and I'm assuming he is. And like I said, he's never been anything other than supportive. But he just keeps it pretty quiet, pretty humble, and obviously I know he is, and I know he's also probably proud that I'm at the Sharks where he coached as well.
I remember talking to Craig Bellamy once, and he was talking about Roy Masters, who hangs around the Melbourne Storm quite a bit now, and obviously he was an old head coach himself. And I asked him, did he ever sort of pick his brains for advice and different things? And he said, look, there are times I do. He said, obviously the game's much different now than it was back then. So there's a lot of things that are irrelevant. He said, but every now and then, he said, Roy would sort of come up with something that they'd done in the past that worked for them in certain situations, which he said, look, it's all a bit old school. He said, but a lot of that's now forgotten in the modern game. So to be able to do that, and he said, and there are times we have used different lessons that he's taught us. He said, he said it does have its uses. I imagine your father must be nice to have him there to say, well, did this ever happen to you, and how did you handle it when it did?
Yeah, that's 100% right. Like you get when you initiate the conversation, you get snippets of gold for sure. There's coaching's coaching in it. Sometimes I think we're capable of making it harder, and then has to be with the advancement of technology and analysis and stats, etc., etc. But those guys know how to manage men, right? They know how to motivate men and how to put men into the right mindset to be able to go and perform and deliver. So every now and again, you just get a statement or an opinion, and it rings in your ears and it rings true. And I've got a couple there where I still rely on them as well. So that's a good point, because it's footy's there's some parts of footy that are 114 years old that everyone the basics of the game have never changed, have they? So it's important you always acknowledge that that's the game of rugby league, and never try and steer away from that. And those guys know that better than anyone and know how to get men to do it.
Hey, Fitzy, we saw one of the greatest in Craig Bellamy coach his 500th game the other night. Crystal ball, you're coaching your 300th, 500th, 1,000 game, and someone else is going to ask you a question. What coach are they going to say you were like in the game? Because you played under so many great ones.
Oh, well, mate, I don't think I'll be getting that far, Gordie.
Well, you got no hair, so that's one of the things. Like, we can't pull that out.
No, mate.
And I like your eyebrows.
Yeah, I've got no hair. My eyebrows are falling out. My ears are getting hairy, so I don't know what's going on there, mate. But no, look, when I said before that I wasn't ready and all that stuff. Like now, I just want to coach for as long as possible to find out what it takes and find out that stuff, how long and beyond. Mate, I can't see past next week at the moment, so it's been a wild ride. I've got to say it is. It's a very demanding role, and I've got nothing but admiration for people like Craig and Trent Robbo, those long-term coaches at one club. That's a remarkable achievement. So anything even remotely close to those guys, I'd be happy with.
Fitz, congratulations on the win, mate, and we all wish you all the success this year with the Sharkies.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Good on you, mate. Craig
Cheers,
Fitzgibbon. He's joining us on the Sunday Sin Bin, one of the great blokes, and his father too, just an absolute champion of a man.
Isn't it good to get it so raw? I reckon if you can keep that interview now and play one in 10 years' time, whether they sound the same, because it's just so cool, isn't it?
But he was like that. I mean, you played for Australia with Fitz and against him at the highest level. He was always like that as a player. He was very relaxed off the field. But then he knew how to flick the switch. Once he went out there, he was in everything.
Like Fitzy was strange. So when I first played against him, he was at the Dragons. And this back row that could goal kick, and he could probably play centres. He had sort of everything. And you go to play, and he's the most humble, nicest guy that, to a point, I never wanted to hurt. You know what I mean? Because normally you want to, so you normally leave a camp thinking, God, I can't wait to play against that guy. And he's done something to you. Like he's just, didn't say good day walking past you, or, sat down and took your seat, or stole your bread roll or something. I needed something to motivate me. But Fitzy gave you nothing. He's just one of those great guys that you just wanted to hang around. And, if that can rub off on his team, mate, they're going to play for someone.
Maroon suddenly understanding you a whole lot more.
Oh, so see, if I bought a box of chocolates here, like favourites, like the girls out here that you go and take some from, I would be against you for the rest of my life.
You know that you tried to get me to go and have a favourite off someone's desk so that you could.
You come and told me. You're
No,
the master
you
of it.
told me,
I
brother.
can't believe you told me
You
one day
told
to
me.
carry this bag downstairs.
You tell
It had that
everybody.
many-
You tell everybody they're
No.
your chocolates and
No.
help yourself.
He got.
So let's be honest, Anthony.
Chips, peanuts.
No.
They're your chocolates. You say they're your chocolates. Go help
The
yourself.
ice Volvos, whoever brings those in.
Yeah, just give me one.
Always. Anyway, boys, that's all thanks to the interviews are thanks to Step One Undies. The underwear your bum deserves. Get them online.
I bought
Only at
some.
step1.life. You bought some Step Ones.
I bought some online.
Right.
They're like the yellow. They're like a psychedelic sort of colour.
Right.
Yeah. Like it really suits me.
Poor old Gemma.
Well, yeah, you got to
Live life
spice
isn't bad
things up a
enough.
little bit.
She
And,
blows herself up, and then her husband walks in wearing psychedelic underwear. What's wrong with this picture?
mate, but they're good. Yeah. So just let you know.
No,
some
I
of the
love them.
guys
I'm
out
wearing
there,
them
you
right
know,
now.
that-
Yeah.
That like they find normal undies.
I want to get
uncomfortable.
Gordon in the ad with that big fat bloke.
Oh, that guy.
How
Yeah,
do
the
you
big
know-
fat.
how do you know
last
I'm not
novel.
him?
Well, you did that.
So
little-
you say with
that
that
little-
big fat bloke, he might be the skinny bloke when I'm in the ad.
I'm trying to look after you here.
The guys from Step One said they were going to get you some special ones, Hoops.
Well, is this true, Anthony, that you might actually have a little interest in Step One? Rocket Industries has got a small share in Step One. Is that
I've
correct?
got nothing to do. But they're
Don't
going to
tell us
make
I
you a
rang
mate,
on
pair.
Wednesday or something. So I had to ring you back.
Yeah.
And then next, I swear, true story. He starts puffing. He goes, "I'm just on the stepper in my step ones." I said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I was.
He goes,
I was on
"I'm
the
just
stepper."
doing my routine."
I was.
He's breathing heavy. I don't know, but that's what he said.
Yeah,
he
no,
was
that's
doing.
what I was
But
doing.
he
How
was
do you get
breathing heavy.
puffed on the stepper?
Pardon?
How do you get puffed on
Oh,
the
mate,
stepper?
I guarantee you couldn't step 40 minutes like I. You could, or you know what I've been
40
doing lately?
minutes.
Stepping without my hands on the thing.
What, 40 minutes on a stepper?
Yeah, no hands, just stepping.
Oh, my God. People walk
You got
all
more
day.
problems than I
Gordon,
thought.
there's not an ounce of fat on me. Look at you. All right, something's working. Something's working, Gordon.
I know there's not an ounce of
And
fat on you.
get-
There's not an inch of fat on you.
Getting back to you, your Step One undies are coming. They're leather with the bum cheeks cut out.
They're yours.
They're
They're
yours.
the ones that you had
Tell
specially
Jess she
tailored.
wanted me to get them for you. I got them for you. Let's take a break. We'll come back with Maroon's Trivia.
Rocks footy.
Welcome back. Okay, you threw me there. It's well, you
you
heard
threw
what?
yourself,
what, did you, what did you hear? I didn't do.
Well, it sounded suspiciously like you
Well,
might have done something
Nah,
which is
well, I
very
think it might be
off-tap,
your old mate over
which is
there because
very
it certainly
off-tap in
was not
radio
me.
studio.
No,
Anthony.
we have a rule in here. We have a
Well,
rule in here.
You've broken that rule
No, I
several
absolutely
times.
don't
You
know,
know you have.
what you're talking about. Time for this.
Welcome to Maroon's Trivia Night.
Yes, well, we've got a trivia night. We had a prize yesterday, so I've given the prize away, so I'll find something else for you guys today. Trivia this week, it is general knowledge, and your name is your buzzer, so we'll make it nice and quick. We're running a little bit late.
There's some jets on one of those desks if you want to give
Oh,
us.
is there?
Yeah, give away
Jats.
those. Give
There
away
any-
someone else's jats.
Oh, give away the Jats as a prize.
Well, why not?
All
mate?
right,
We
well,
normally do that.
We'll give you,
Right.
whoever wins gets a
Wouldn't be the
box of
first
Jats
time you've done
crackers. Yes. A box of Jats crackers. And we'll share them. We'll
Someone
share
had a
them.
box of favourites one week go missing, didn't they?
Mate,
Eh?
it's him. And
Don't point fingers
Mate,
at me.
you know what-
Mate, you're in this on your own.
you
Don't try
are the
and drag
worst.
me down
You
to your
try and
level.
get, if you go and steal something off someone's desk, yeah, have an Easter egg.
There's only one tea leaf here, Anthony.
All right, your name is your buzzer. The Bathurst 1000. What is the name of its? Yes.
Mount Panorama.
And that is incorrect. The question was going to be, what is the name of its longest straight?
Conrad.
Oops.
Conrad.
Well, it was, well, actually, there's no second dig, so
Right,
it's
there's
zero.
Conrad.
I
Yeah,
was just,
okay.
I was just letting the listeners know.
Question 2, who scored the winning try for Cronulla last night?
Hoops.
Yes, Hoops.
Teague Wilton.
And now we're back to 0-all. All right. The next question, you didn't look at these when I went outside to get my coffee, did
Yep.
you? You did?
No, I didn't.
Because I can just bar you. It's
No,
no
I've
big...
been
All right.
watching reruns of Sale of the Century, Family Feud.
He knows he's got to
Bolos.
get in early.
Yeah.
Because at least he gets to answer something.
Did you
The
see
Price is Right. I've been watching The Price is Right.
with the
Wheel
old,
of
the old
Fortune.
Terps? The
Did
old...
you hear Larry Hamden died?
No?
Yeah, do you know how old he was?
No.
What do you reckon he was?
53?
Lower.
All right. You know what? Paul gets a point for that. Yes, Paul gets a point for that. That was very good. Paul's 1, Gordie's 0,
Lower.
and you're 0. All right, here we go. Next question. In mythology, who supported the heavens on his shoulders?
Paul.
Yes.
Achilles?
Wrong. And you are back to zero.
Zeus.
And is that your name or is that
Dr. Seuss.
That's Dr. Seuss? Not green eggs and ham. The Greek Dr. Seuss.
Who was it?
Who was it?
Oh, it was Atlas. Atlas.
I
Teddy.
should have known that.
Oh,
That's
Teddy
bad.
Atlas.
St. Stephen's Day is better known by what name? St. Stephen's Day is better known by what
St.
name?
Stephen's
Yes,
Day.
St. Stephen's Day. 5, 4,
St. Patrick's Day.
and that is wrong. So now you're -1.
I'm
Boxing Day. Boxing
Oh,
Day.
really?
That's what I
Who
thought
calls
it
it St.
was.
Stephen's Day?
Well, mate, it's look. I asked the question.
If
all
anybody
right?
out there
Talking about
really
St.
knows the
Christmas
true
Day, which
answers,
is out of
please ring
Shakespeare.
in.
All right. Pardon?
I think he's making them up.
No, I'm not. Here we go. You guys are just.
You're not
Even
gonna
you,
run-
Paul. You're not on your game
You're not
today.
gonna run
No,
out of
mate, I'm
questions,
rattled.
are you?
No. In what sport would you expect to see a velodrome?
Gordie.
Ooh, I think Gordie just.
Cycling.
So Gordie's won. We've been here for 5 minutes. Finally, someone's got one right.
Kenry Tucker.
1-0. Next one. Tequila originates in what country?
Paul.
Yes, Paul.
Mexico.
And it's 1-1. Or are you -1?
I'm 0 now.
Okay, you're 0. Right.
Yeah.
Come on,
Come
you
on,
can
no,
do
I've got
this.
the bonus
supposed to
for
get
my
We've
job.
control of
got
this
to keep our
scoreboard.
own score.
Come on. I know.
It's an honour system. It's an honour system. All right. Here we go. Rudolph Giuliani.
Paul.
Yes.
New York.
That's correct. So now you are 1.
Yep.
All right.
0.
Thanks for the question.
Who made famous the character Russell Coit?
Paul.
Paul.
5, 4.
Uncle Arthur.
Yes, but what's his name, man? Well, now we are starting to run out of questions. All right.
What's his name?
Glenn Robbins.
Glenn Robbins. I knew it was
Okay.
Uncle Arthur.
Greatest.
All right. Next one is who scored the Titans' first try yesterday?
Gordie.
Yes.
Both Umar.
Yes. Now he's
Off
2.
AJ Brimson.
Is he 2 now?
Yes.
Owen.
He is
Yeah, Owen's keeping score. He's 2. This one for the game.
Gordon. Pooh.
TX. TX is an abbreviation for what you.
Texas. Paul.
Yes, Texas. 2-1, and you are 0. What have you been doing? You said you've been watching reruns of Sale of the Century
No, I have.
with Delphine Delaney.
And,
Tony
Tony
Barber.
Barber. He reminds me a little bit of you, actually.
Does
Tony
he
Barber,
really?
yeah.
He's a great Australian. Who famously said life is like a box of
Paul
chocolates,
Gordie.
Paul?
Forrest Gump.
Okay, I've got no idea what the score is. Does anyone know?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay,
He's
this
out of
one's for the game.
questions.
This one's for the game. Let's find a question.
And I've just backed the win at Sunshine Coast.
What was that? What was he called?
Gamble responsibly.
Gamble responsibly. The Toronto Blue Jays played
Who?
what?
Gordie.
Yes.
NHL.
Oh, and that's
Oh,
wrong.
that's
Embarrassing.
Oh,
So, mate,
Baseball.
don't soak up the
Baseball.
questions
Embarrassing.
and
What
get
are
them
you
wrong. We're
doing?
running out of questions.
1993 World Series champions.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Yeah, Babe
Mate,
Ruth.
can you just sit down, please? Can you turn his mic off?
Now, this is for the game. This is for the game. All right. Whose sporting biography is titled "You Cannot Be Serious"?
Gordie.
Yes, Gordie.
John McEnroe.
Yes, he got you, Paul.
I was already
He got
3.
you, mate.
I was 3,
No,
mate.
you weren't, mate. You were looking at the bloody Sunshine Coast on your phone.
I was 3
It was
15
race
minutes
3.
ago.
Mate,
was
you,
race
you,
3.
you lost a point. Well, anyway, congratulations.
Natuno saluted on the sunny coast for all those I tipped.
We need to really look. What was it called?
Natuno.
Gamble responsibly, everybody. We really need to look at whether we want to continue with this.
Paul
I mean,
from Ladbrokes.
because this is really. I mean, I asked 15
trivia.
questions for you to get 2 right,
The
I
trivia.
got 3 right. I got 3 right 5 minutes ago. You're not paying attention.
mate. Yeah, but you lost a couple as well. You
know,
lost a
it's-
couple as
Anthony,
well.
Look, Anthony, you're starting to
You got
embarrass
Glenn
yourself
Robbins,
now,
mate.
mate. You,
You got
listen,
Uncle Arthur.
you're
You
the
know,
self-
this is one of
you're
the
the
most popular
self-proclaimed
segments on
trivia
radio,
king.
don't you?
Yeah.
You're the self-proclaimed
right.
trivia king of Sydney, and you can't add up to 3.
Bring
So,
back
mate, we're
Andrew.
starting to have a few problems here.
and Paul, you call yourself a professional broadcaster, yet while we are doing a segment on this award-winning show, you are watching Sunshine Coast on your phone. So, I mean, if you're going to have a crack at me,
He can multitask.
mate, he doesn't
There's a
need
little
you
bit
to...
of breaking. There's a little bit of breaking news too,
Right.
around this trivia competition
Yeah.
and this award-winning quiz.
Yeah.
Anthony has actually hung up his trivia
That's
microphone.
right. I have, yeah, I have.
Why is that,
Why is that? Yeah,
I
mate,
just-
there's a great wave of apathy just spread across the land when they heard.
Yeah, I know. There was I had to go around and tell everyone personally, but no,
You phoned them all up.
Took you 5 minutes.
yeah. No, I just got too much else on. I'm never home, so with everything else that's going on in the world, I thought, why not sit back and smell the roses?
Yeah.
You know.
It must be good not to need money and work.
Well, you'd know more about that than I. But, I mean, I've only ever been married once, and that's a great way to hang on to your super, at least, isn't it? Anyway, let's leave that there. We'll take a break, and we'll come back with more as Triple M rocks the footy.
Low blow.
Fellas, let's start with the Raiders before we go on to the Cowboys and how good they were. Where do you see them going from here, Paul?
Oh, I think they've got to go back to the drawing board a little bit, to be honest. Look, the thing about the Raiders, big picture for me, where I've seen things that concern me in recent years, is when things aren't going right, they don't seem prepared to roll the sleeves up and do the hard work to get out of it. They seem to try for the cheap tricks, so to speak. And what I mean by that, more so the week before against Cronulla when they played Cronulla, there was a period there where Cronulla were really coming back at them. And rather the Raiders just saying, right, let's muscle up defensively, let's just get through our sets, let's kick smart, chase hard, tackle hard, and try and start dominating a bit of field position. They were going for little things like trying to knock balls out in tackles and trying to steal the ball and things like that, little sort of cute plays that if they're working for you, they tend to work for you. But when it wasn't working for them, they kept doing it, and it was like a cheap way to get yardage by trying to knock the ball out. And to me, I don't like seeing that in them. Like when you start to lose the arm wrestle a little bit in games, the momentum always swings back and forth. The great sides, when momentum starts to go against them and they concede a couple of penalties on the trot, or there's a try that goes against them followed by a penalty or whatever, what they do is they reset and they go, okay, let's muscle up defensively and let's just go back to basic good fundamental football. Whereas the Raiders don't do that. They seem to me to decide that they try to finesse their way out of hard spots, and you can never finesse your way out. You can do that when you're going, when you've got momentum and you're travelling, but when the momentum is against you, you can't get yourself out of trouble. And they do that. And Cooper Cronk spoke last night about the game, and he said the Raiders made poor decisions from a game management point of view. He pointed to a period in the game where it was 8-6 to the Cowboys and they got a penalty right in front and everything was going against them at that point. And he said, look, all they needed to do there was kick the goal, get it 8-8, reset and go again. But they didn't. And this probably leans in what I'm talking about. They went for the points. Now, on the surface, that looks like going for the try looks like the brave play. But it was not an awareness of the game situation. They just needed to consolidate. They needed to slow the game down. They needed to just put some easy points on the board. Get 8-8 is much different from 8-6, particularly when you don't have the momentum. And I think I was listening to Cooper, who was such a great game manager and who generally made the right decision at the right time in the game. And there's very few games where you could ever say to Cooper Cronk, mate, you made a blue there. You kicked that ball when you should have, gone to the left, or you took a kick for goal when you should have kept the pressure on. He always made the right decision, and let's be honest, helped a lot by Cameron Smith and Billy Slater alongside him, or later with the Roosters. But he understood that, and the Raiders, I don't think they get that. And there's a lot of experience. Like Hodgson's generally the guy that would bring that to them, and all the rest of it. Now, there's guys. Jack Whiten should be doing that. Jack Whiten's at that stage of his career now where he needs to understand tempo of the game. No player in the game understood tempo better than Ricky Stewart as a player. He was the best at it. When the Raiders were on top, he would press the go button and he would make his forwards run to a scrum. Let's run to the scrum, pack it quick because we've got them. They're more tired than we are. But on the flip side, when the Raiders run under pressure, he'd kick it into touch. He'd turn to his forwards, he'd say, walk to the scrum, and they'd slow the game right down, and they'd get themselves back into the game tempo-wise. And I wonder whether sometimes at training, because he is so, acutely in tune with that himself, he controls that a little bit too much at training and doesn't allow the players to actually pick that up themselves. But certainly in a game, I think what Cooper was saying about their game awareness, I think he was spot on. And the Raiders, like I said, against Cronulla, when they needed to just slow the game down, Cronulla would come at them and they were giving away 6 agains because they were trying to knock balls loose and stuff. Well, that's just a dumb play.
Yeah.
It was a dumb play.
We're finding in the NRL that they need the scoreboard ticking over. Like these young guys coming through, and with all the sports science that has come into the game, if you look at some of the players walking out fair income, like they look like they should be on an Avenger movie. You know what I mean? The jersey. You know what I mean? Like they do. Like they look like superheroes. To the point where some of the guys I played with, like a Shane Webke, he was so mentally tough. It was ridiculous what he could push himself through. Kevin Walters was one of the most, but his body didn't look like, the Greek god that you see run on the field. So I don't think for all the sports science that's come in the game, they can give up quick, and they need the points. Like they need, the
You're right,
like the
Gordon.
back slapping, like they need the points go, and a real and then it's gone out of the game where you can say, listen, go away. They are going to stay. They're going to run 8K today. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And get those sports scientists, right,
So,
away from it and get someone that knows that. I don't think hard work has ever killed anybody.
Yeah. It has a little here and there.
Okay?
But no, but
yeah,
you're,
mate, but
you're
they're being
right.
70, mate.
You're right with the
mate, they're
Gordon.
not 22.
But Gordon, you're right with the sports science, because what happens? Sports scientists come into the game, and what will happen is the player will do so much running, and then the coach will come over. The strength and conditioning coach will come over to the head coach and go, mate, he's done enough kilometres for the week now. He doesn't need to run anymore, because from a physiological point of view, that's where he's at. But I remember I've spoken to Trent Robinson about this, and he was doing early days of the Roosters. They used to have saliva tests with the players, and they could see what stress their body's under at certain points in the week, and they get green, orange, and red. Okay,
Wow.
green, you're good to train. Orange, keep an eye. But
That's called COVID testing.
yeah, but to Trent's point, there were days where a player would come up red, and he'd say to his trainers, flog him today, because it was not about physical, it was about mental. And that's what's been lost, to Gordon's point, lost a lot in the game, is the players, the ability. Go back to the 86 grand final, not a try scored in the game, 4-2. Two teams who just fought each other for 80 minutes, didn't get over the try line. Okay, a couple of disallowed tries, but no legal tries in the game. But both teams, when Parramatta ultimately won that game, right in the 80th minute, they were defending Canterbury a metre from the try line. And they'd been there for several sets. Yeah. You know what I mean? And Parramatta just refused to give in that instance. Whereas, to Gordon's point, now it's like if the scoreboard's not ticking over, it's like, well, you know what? It's almost subconsciously. They switch off mentally, let the opposition score, because that way we can kick it down there and we can reset and we'll go after them and we'll be after them at this point. And there's a lot of that in the game. And I think that's been one of the real standout differences in recent years of Melbourne and the Roosters.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Penrith are developing as well. And that's why they're the three best teams in the competition. Melbourne and the Roosters have shown they like the contest. They're comfortable when it is just going set for set and who's going to break first. And they're very comfortable. And as I said, Penrith are getting into that frame of mind as well. They've developed that in recent years.
Like Brian Smith said to us one day, like we're sitting in the dressing room, we're about to run out, and Brian Smith goes, and boys today, and he used to get a little bit angry, Brian. He goes, don't worry about that little fat bloke on the scoreboard, because he's going to do his job. You worry about your job today. And it's sort of those moments. And I watch every player run off now, and I love the game, and I think it's a great product, but every player runs off, and it's like they know their stats. Oh, well, it's ball completion, they do all that. It's like, I played with some of the greatest, most intelligent players. They never once come off and spoke about, mate, we didn't complete a couple of early sets and got us on the back foot. Well, that doesn't matter. If they score a try, we just get back into the grind, start the game again, and let's keep on going. That's the excuse. Because they dropped 2 balls in the first 5 sets, we just weren't up for it today, and they got the jump on us. Well, can't you catch up in a race? People have fallen over, haven't they, and got up and won races.
And the other thing that got said last night after the Raiders game was, we just didn't have enough ball, we didn't complete. Well, it's back to front. The reason you didn't have enough balls because you didn't.
Yeah.
It's because you didn't
They made
complete.
errors.
Yeah. And too many errors. That's when you're in that state of mind.
Paul, how many Raiders players made over 100 metres?
I got no idea.
One. The fullback.
Not one forward.
And then when they kick it to him, he's got at least 10 metres.
Yeah, you got
So
10
if they kick it to
metres.
him 10 times, there's his 100 metres.
Yeah. Hey, let me turn it now to you.
Manly,
Hoops.
hold on. I'm going to go back to this. Manly on Friday night or whenever they play.
Friday night against
Friday
Chooks.
night at half time, their 2 front rowers had 1 run each for 7 metres. And all the blame's going to be on Tommy, and they shut Tommy down. There's no go forward. There's no front rower laying the platform, punching holes, bending the line. Roosters had them set every time, so they're coming up. Tommy couldn't get any numbers, couldn't get any broken field running, and every time he had the ball, there was 2 or 3 guys on him. But we're going to talk about Tommy when his forwards let him down.
Well, we'll come back to that game, but I need to get some talk here around the Cowboys, Hoops. there was a lot at stake for the Cowboys. It was a home game. They'd lost the week before. There's this thing around Taumalolo and Toddy Payton, but they did it comfortably last night.
Well, it was tight, Anthony. Like, it was 8-6, I think, with 20 minutes to go. And to the point that the boys just made, it was really only once the Cowboys scored to go further ahead that then you could see the Raiders started to see the writing on the wall a little bit. And given that they hadn't had any ball and they hadn't had a whole lot of possession, they did, to a degree, start to think, okay, well, this is probably out of reach. Now, once they went bang, bang with 2 quick tries, you could see the Raiders thinking we're on the back foot here. But look, there were some good signs from the Cowboys. Taumalolo obviously played more minutes. I thought he boxed pretty clever at the press conference afterwards, where when the reporters asked him, is this the build-up? Is this the start that means we're going to see more minutes from you? He was tap dancing around like you at the old taxi club, Anthony. So
Like
he didn't
Fred
really.
Astaire.
But the good thing
He
about
didn't
that,
really
though,
answer the question.
the good thing about Taumalolo, his game last night, was those second efforts when he ran the ball, which it's sort of been missing from his game a bit. That ability where he just bullocks through with guys on top of him. So he hits the line. We all know how hard he comes into the line, but he hits the line. And then he twists around. He almost starts back, and he always
makes
used
another
to
10 metres.
He used to, and that was a big, when he was at his absolute best. That was a big part of his game, was those extra metres he'd pinch with blokes just trying to drag him down, and it was there again last night. And that's the biggest positive you can take out of the Cowboys last night, is that you saw that again.
I think there was that, and then also the fact that their halves, Tom Dearden looked like he was playing with a little bit more confidence than what we've seen from him previously. He was running the ball with real purpose, and when the game was in the balance, he was taking the line on and trying to make a difference. And Chad Townsend, that's the reason why they bought Chad Townsend. They needed a game-managing halfback who, when they are in one of those tight tussles, can make sure that you get across the line, you get the 2 points, and he did that, Anthony. How did you see it, Maroon?
Well, don't worry about how I saw it. I'm just very happy to see you get another little plug in for your old stomping ground, the Taxi Club. But we might come back to that.
Hey, your old
You didn't watch the
stomping
game, did you?
I did
Your
watch
old
the game,
stomping
yes.
ground,
Oh, did
my
you call
friend.
it yesterday?
No, I just was watching it at the palatial Fibro Mansion in Little Bay.
The compound.
Yeah, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back
Is
with.
that right? You put another wing on the compound over the off season?
I haven't got.
That's
I'm
why
not,
he's
mate.
given up the trivia. He's put another wing on the compound,
No.
and so he
Mate,
doesn't need trivia
I've
anymore.
got only. I'm operating with little party pies, mate. As you know that, I'm just doing my best. The little battler from Little Bay, in here with you blokes. You get all the cream. I just get whatever's
Mate,
left.
it's a testament you can get out of bed every day, the way your life just rains on you.
Yeah, I know, mate. I know.
Honestly, mate, you're an inspiration.
Oh, I know.
You really are.
Look, I didn't want to say, but you make a good point there, Paul. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to pull you up there because it's not about me. It's about I call BS. Gordie's got something to say about Jaden Sewer. I'm sure you've got something, Hoops.
Of course, Anthony.
What about you, Paul?
I'll think of something between here
It's
and
his segment. What do you think?
Okay. Did I ask you? Did I ask you? Let's take a break.
Hey,
We'll
Anthony,
still-
no, just before we do,
Yeah.
I just got a message off the social media. I'll tell you what, it continues to light up about this Maroon Marathon on the Triple M Airways. Hoops, have you seen Anthony Maroon lately? We paid an invoice for a sports trivia luncheon to be hosted by the Redfern Royal, which was supposed to take place last Friday,
Yeah, I was there.
only for him to be a no-show. The phone number supplied to Rocket Industries is constantly engaged, and it seems the address in Redfern stated on the invoice is actually a laundromat. Any news
Laundromat.
would be appreciated.
Yeah, well, was it last Friday when we did the Moorebank Rams, or was it when we were up there doing the Berkeley Vale Panthers? I mean, we've just been
Well, this
all
bloke's saying
the
you
Como
you-
Crocs
well,
for
you-
those lunatics.
Well, you're quadruple booked because this bloke's saying you were supposed to do something in
No,
Redfern,
mate, no.
which is your old stomping
Yeah,
ground.
no, anything I do in Redfern, I do for free. I don't get asked back there that much anymore. No one talks to me. Let's take a break. We'll come back and do I Call BS.
Triple M rocks footy.
And welcome back to it. I've got the game for you today at 4 o'clock. Dan will call that one for you. It's Newcastle and Tigers. And then tonight it's Adam Reynolds, the mighty Adam Reynolds. We wish him all the best. Broncos up against the Doggies. Yesterday, of course, the Titans won one game in a row. So happy, so
Yes.
proud.
Hey,
Toby
Maroon,
Texton.
You
Toby
see this 4 on my hat?
Yeah,
For how many points South could have had this year.
right. Is that-
Right?
okay.
Why are you bagging them for?
Who bagging who?
What, the Titans, because they've won a game.
I said
And
they won
should have
one game
2
in a row, mate. I mean, like, they won 4 games in a row. Tommy Tate
5
gave them a
last
public
year.
Well,
holiday.
exactly, mate. They've done better than your South.
Yeah, but mate, it's a long season. No one
Well,
wins the
look,
grand final in May or whatever month it
What
is.
did you
March.
think of the Rabbitohs? What did you think of the Rabbitohs performance Thursday night?
As a fan.
Insipid.
Yeah,
As a fan. Come on. As a member.
Yeah.
As a
As
bloke
the
who
number one
pays
ticket
every
holder.
year.
yeah.
Do
Look,
all those free gigs for them where they don't invoice you.
no, well, I don't invoice them.
Oh, sorry. I
No,
got it
look,
wrong way
I'll
around.
just say again that it's a long year, and no one wins the grand final in March. Last time I checked,
Can't
no
lose
one's
it,
won
though.
21 grand finals. No one's got close.
Well,
So I'm just
Old
saying.
South Sydney got 20 and New South Sydney
Mate,
got one.
it doesn't matter, mate. It's all history,
That
isn't
is
it?
a very
It's all
pertinent-
history.
that is a
No,
very
it's
No,
not,
pertinent
it's not a
point.
very
There's two
pertinent
different
fact at all.
goals there.
Stop dodging the question.
It's all
How do you
history.
think they played?
Old
I think
South
they-
Sydney lasted till 98. New South Sydney came back in 2001.
It's
And you've
all
won
history,
one.
mate. It's
You've
all
won one.
history.
You've won one
It's all
comp.
history. They've won 21
You're about
premierships.
16 behind the
right?
Roosters.
Okay, you like
Who've
North.
been there
They're
the
not
whole
even
way
a side
through.
anymore. You like North. They're not
Mate,
even a side
why
anymore.
would you bag North Sydney?
Because I like bagging
this
them.
year is
You know
like-
why I'll bag them? Because every time there's talk of a new team, somehow Norths get involved,
Yeah.
and there's going to be 2 games at North Sydney Oval.
Mate, it's
Forget about it. It's over.
Do you know it's 100 years this year since North Sydney's last premiership?
Is that right?
Yep.
Well, there you go. You've answered
Last
your own
year was
question.
100 years since their first.
Is that right? So they won 21 and 22,
Yeah, 19, 21, 22, and that's it.
and then they had to row home. There was no Harbour Bridge.
That was it, yeah.
Had to
Did
swim
it,
home.
mate, there was no Harbour Bridge when North won last won
Yeah.
a comp.
Wow.
Yeah, they had to swim over. That's why they're so good.
But
though.
let me
They're so fit.
let me ask you this, Paul, as a North Sydney Bears fan,
Yeah.
doesn't it make you? Isn't it ridiculous? Every time there's going to be a new club, Norths are going to get involved, and they're going to play 2 games at North Sydney Oval.
I like North.
At least they
I
never
don't
sold
care.
out.
I wasn't talking to you.
North's never sold out, though.
Well, you know what they say, mate. Norths fans, the war is over, and you lost. Time for this.
From the makers of The Earth is Flat and I'm only having one beer comes I Call BS.
Well, what about when you go into a restaurant now, as I do? If I go to the fancy joints downstairs at East Gardens, and they say, right, if you got to order, you got to get your QR code and order on the phone, which is stupid. And then after you've done all the ordering yourself, do you want fries with it? Do you want Coke? Do you want some potatoes? Do you want some chicken wings? You've asked everyone. Then it says, do you want to leave a tip? Well, what am I leaving a tip for? I've done all the work. I'm calling BS on that. And what's that stupid?
And like, what are the specials?
Yeah, I know. I mean, don't go there so I can do the work. You know? I just think
Is
that's.
that part of the Maroon diet? Some of those foods that you've just listed?
Oh, mate, I know what to
Coke
order.
and
High
chips
high
and
protein. That was for Miss
potato.
Portugal.
Ah, okay.
She's stocking up.
Okay.
She's stocking up. She's carving up.
She's carbo
Yeah.
loading.
What would you like to call BS, Gordon?
Yeah, on the Dragons Penrith game, Jaden Sewer comes out, hit Sean O'Sullivan. He's like a second late. And if you slow anything down, if you slow any tackle down in our game, it looks bad. If you slow anything, fast motion, he gets there pretty much at the same time he passes it. And I think the referees got it wrong. And more importantly, O'Sullivan lays down, right? So then he milks it.
But that'll
then
stop
he
now
ended up
because that means
getting-
you've got to go off.
Yeah, he
So,
ended up
yeah,
getting
yes,
stung
yes,
for
yes,
that. He
yes,
paid the price because
yeah.
he had to go off for an HIA.
So that's one
assessment.
thing they got right. But I don't know how the referees can look at that, right?
Shouldn't have been 10 minutes.
And it hits him in the shoulder. He actually, so apparently I get.
That because of the whiplash motion. I agree with that, Gordon. Because what the point of? Can I just interrupt here? The point is that halfbacks are getting braver and braver and playing into the line now because they're so protected, which makes it more difficult to defend.
Yes.
The way that was always discouraged was, well, mate, if you want to come into the line and play deep into the line and set up your players, then we're going to whack you. So basically, you're calling on if you want to put yourself in the position and get the reward for going deep in the line, halfback, then you take what comes at the other side. Some halfbacks didn't like that, so they pass early. But now what we're doing, because you're not allowed to hit them, as Gordon's point is, they're all going deeper and deeper into the line, which is corrupting the whole situation.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, with the halfbacks, they've taken so long to kick because you're not allowed to tackle them. So when they start kicking, you're not allowed to tackle them. So there was charge downs. Kick-out scored one, and then there was one against the Titans. I think Curran comes through because they're taking so long to kick the ball now because they're so protected. So I think that they got that wrong. So the referees would like to have that
We need to
all
adjust
over again.
back. The pendulum needs to come back a little bit.
Just a little bit. And there was 14 points that the Panthers scored, and the Dragons would have won that game.
I like it. I call BS. What about PK or Hoops? Would you like to have a crack at this?
Yeah, I'll call BS Anthony on out of the match last night. Look, he won him the game with a cracking try right on full time. Nico Hines kicked the conversion to actually seal the win. But Teague Wilson's what's his last name?
Teague Wilton. Mitch
Teague
Moses.
Wilton, Teague Wilton.
Yeah, Teague Wilton, yeah.
Wilson. Teague Wilton's shot on Mitch Moses. Look, of course, you've got to put pressure on kickers, but the game has built these rules around protecting them for a reason, because we don't want to see those playmakers sustain a serious injury. And it's creeping back in because there was a Jimmy Tarmow shot on Sam Walker in the trials where I thought he was lucky to get away with only a 1 week suspension. Teague is looking at a week on the sidelines. If he fights it, he risks looking at a couple. But the players, they just got to be careful. When kickers are in the air, they can't defend themselves, and that's where things really can go wrong. So I just thought, we spoke to Fitzy earlier, Craig Fitzgibbon, the Cronulla coach, and he pointed out that you got to put pressure on your kickers, but you've also got to get your timing right.
I call BS. Good one, Hoops. What about you, PK?
Oh, look, I just got a little one. I went in a shop the other day and the girl that worked there said, do you mind putting a mask on? And I said, no, I don't need to put a mask on anymore. It's not required. She said, oh, yeah, I know that, but it's for your safety and welfare as much as it is for ours. And I said, well, I get that, but look, I don't care. I'm not going to put the mask on, so thank you. And I walked off, my daughter looked at me, she said, you're a Karen. So I had to go and figure out what a Karen was. But I tell you what, I just want to say, haven't we left the masks behind, please? We're all done now, aren't we?
Oh,
no,
mate,
you've got to walk
100%.
into the airport. And then today I'm on a plane and I'm sitting there and I'm wearing glasses. So I'm trying to watch.
And the glasses are fogging up.
And then you breathe and you fog it up and I pull it down below my nose. She's come past me about 6 times.
Yeah.
Can you pull the mask up? I'm like, give me a break. I'm sitting in a row by myself.
Yeah. Well, didn't you forget the mask, so you whipped off the step ones and step one undies and threw them out?
That made his eyes water.
Let's take a break.
Rocks footy.
Welcome back up and down the east coast of Australia. And, of course, at 4 o'clock today, Knights take on the Tigers. Gordon, Tallis, Paul Kent, so too Tricep Super and Maroon. Well, we've got one of the family leaves us today, one of the family of the little Sunday sin bin family. Asunta Soprano's just been on the phone. The young Tony, our boy Tony Soprano, is going to work with on MG show. So
In the mornings, yep.
yeah, so he's Soprano. Remember when he came to work with us, he was still whacking people and leaving them in the Georges River?
Yeah, he was.
And he's come a long way.
Yep.
You know?
Mate, he's going to be sadly missed.
Oh, yeah.
Especially like those desserts he brings in.
He was good. He's a good fella. So he's going to go and work at the MG breakfast show.
Don't know how that's going to go.
Him and MG together. Well, congratulations, Soprano. We wish you all the best. So he's the guy. This is what a team player he was. Last year he came to us. He said, Channel 9 have got to Fordham. One of the talk stations have got to Fordham. One of the other FM stations, I think, had one as well. He said, I'm going to change my name to Tony Fordham, so we've got to Fordham as well. So that's the sort of bloke he is. We
You don't get
appreciate
many
it.
like that, Anthony.
Pardon?
You don't get many
No,
like
you
that.
don't get many that'll go that far.
No.
All right, let's talk about some of these games. Titans, Warriors, 20 points to 18. Warriors are now 0-2. The Titans, I like watching them play, Gordie, your Titans, because they just attack straight away.
Yeah.
And yesterday they got a try in the first set.
Yeah, well, AJ Brimson, that was his first touch this year, and he's playing in a new position, 5'8". He steps off the left, but Matt Lodge made that hole. He raced out to go get young Jaden Campbell at the back, so he left the hole, and AJ had great vision, and it was a good start. And the Titans that I've known in the last, say 7 years since I've been there would have lost that game in the past. They're not one of those sides, and I think in round 1 against Parramatta, like they dug in the second half and there was 3 penalties. They got Parramatta the win, and I think last year they would have lost that game. You know what I mean? But they hung in there really late and defended and come away with the victory. So it was a really good game. And the girls actually beat the Broncos, and that's only I think the second time the girls won. So it was a great day for the Titans as a club.
Absolutely, and we'll speak to the man himself, Toby the Sexton, coming up very shortly. But let's stick with some of those stars.
Mate, he's a young kid.
Come on, Anthony.
Yesterday, that's his nickname.
He hasn't even
No,
it's
mate,
not,
you
mate. He
just
hasn't even
gave him that
started
nickname,
shaving
mate.
yet.
Listen,
No,
boys.
you just.
boys.
Why did you have to go there?
I
mate?
didn't.
He's a good
I
young
went-
player.
I-
Can you tell us anything about the style of footy that he's been playing the opening couple of rounds?
Well, that's not my
Yeah,
job.
no,
to
I'll
ta-
bet you
Yeah.
can't.
No, I
Yeah.
can't. I
Well,
can't because
mate,
I don't
the
watch
game.
it. I don't watch the game. Huh? I didn't watch the game.
know a little
I
bit.
called it, but I was thinking about what I was going to have for
Called it,
dinner.
but I didn't watch the game.
But I was calling it, but in my head I was going, what am I going to have for dinner? Lamb shanks, fish fingers? No, listen, that's your job, Hoops, right?
Fish fingers. Do you like fish fingers?
I do.
Yeah.
Spud Carroll tipped me into them. He can eat a whole box. He can
How
eat
many's in the box?
38.
I think Shane Richardson, South Sydney and Penrith, he used to love a fish finger. He had
Did
a
he really?
record. Yeah, he had a record.
I
of
think he
fish
still
fingers.
holds the record.
2 boxes.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Aldi got
Definitely
you can get
double
a
figures.
box of 64 from Aldi and a cask of wine on the way out. Well, we're getting off the point here, boys.
Yeah.
Toby Sexton will be coming
I
on
love
shortly.
your Sunday nights.
Titans, they are just good to watch, aren't they? Brimson, Brian Kelly, Toby Sexton. They won't. I don't think they'll make the 8, but they get out there and have a crack.
I reckon they're a good chance of the 8.
Do you?
Yeah, look, as we've spoken about, they are in those 4 to 5 teams that have got fight for positions 6, 7, and 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're in the mix. They're very well coached. They've got some really quality players. They're still building up their depth. They're still trying to find the style a little bit, but they play good footy. And you really saw the way they applied themselves yesterday. They're a work in progress, but they're on the way up. They're a team on the way up. They're travelling north.
They got a gun forward pack. Any team that's got Tino, Fafita, Mo Fotuaika, all in that starting
Isaac Lee.
engine room, that's strong. Yeah, he's been he's going to prove a great buy for them this season. Just seasoned and brings so much experience, and obviously played at a successful club in the Chooks. But like their spine's still very young and inexperienced. And AJ Brimson is brilliant a player as he is. He hasn't spent a lot of time at 5'8" Gordon, has he? Like he's only played a handful of
Not since
of
he was a
games
kid
there.
at school. So that combination with Toby and young Jaden Campbell at the back, he's a live wire. And then he's just so light. So he's like a Reece Welsh was about 18 months ago, where they're a bit light on, but you know, he wants the ball in his hands. He's a live wire. And you just, every time you watch him play, and not often I go to a game of footy and you watch someone and it's like that, they're always going to break the line. Like you know, he's just such a live wire like Matty Bowen used to be.
Yeah, he's an X factor.
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
I shouldn't say that, like his dad.
And to Toby Sexton, he's still very young in terms of his development as a playmaker, but some of his passing, Kenny, like the way he can throw 40-metre passes both sides, he looks to have great vision. He's got a great all-round kicking game, but long, but short. So I think that there is some very good signs there for the Gold Coast Anthony. So you, not for the first time, are a good chance of looking like a bad judge.
Absolutely. No, 100%. You guys are here
wanna
to
have a
judge.
bet?
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
As a South fan, do you reckon there's a chance South can't make the 8 this year?
No, they'll make the 8 for sure. Yeah.
I know.
Well, do you want to have a little something on that
But
about the Gold
But
Coast?
listen,
and-
but they got the Roosters this week.
Mm.
Then after that, they've got is it Penrith?
Yep.
So they could be 0-4.
Well, they could be, but again, Paul, you don't win the grand final in March.
You
Yeah, but
don't
you
want to
gotta-
lose 4 games to start the
you
year.
can't lose
either.
it in March,
it's just-
Anthony.
And then
Sorry-
an origin
sorry
when
for-
you lose
sorry.
2 or 3 or 4 players.
Excuse me
So
for a
they've got
second,
the Roosters this week.
Paul.
They've got Penrith the week after. Then they've got Saints, who the way they're travelling, that's 50-50.
Mm.
Then they've got Carey. You'd think they'd win that. So after 6 rounds, they're on 2 points.
well, they should beat the Dragons.
Well,
They might beat the Roosters.
Then
The
you
Dragons
got
are
the
playing at the
Tigers. So
moment.
after 7 rounds, you're on 4 points.
Well, they should have beaten
Then
the
you got
Broncos. The
Manly, you won't
Broncos
get
got the
them.
wooden spoon and they didn't.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, everyone,
They scored 4 points.
let's just all calm down, take a breath, right?
Melbourne Storm went back to the dressing room in the 65th minute because they thought they'd won. They put the cue on the rack and you scored 2 late tries and you think that they're back. Is that what you were trying to tell me?
No, I'm not saying they're back. I don't know how they got as close to Melbourne as they did, but I think that we're a long way off from writing the season off. As bad as they might have been on the other night, they're still only 1 point off beating the Melbourne Storm.
I'll tell you what was a big talking point, Anthony, was at that or around that 65th minute mark. I was surprised, but Jason Demetrio made the decision to take Damien Cook off. Now, he had gone down earlier in the game and was clutching at his left calf a little bit, but we went over to check at the game. Was there an issue with Damien in terms of the injury? But there wasn't. It was that Jason had clearly made the decision that he wanted Saliva Havili to go on and play dummy half. And it was when he made that call that Souths all of a sudden came to life and really roared back.
Why Havili, though?
into
What was Havili doing that Cook wasn't?
Well, Cook, I mean, everybody knows Cook's greatest strength is he's a jump and run. He's electric out of dummy half in terms of speed when he decides to run the footy. But Havili seemed to be able to be picking Melbourne apart and slowing them down in the middle. He seemed to be able to be buying more time, bringing players into that middle third, and then they were finding numbers once they'd shifted to the outside. And he also seemed to be, Ilias and Walker seemed to have a better fluency in that short window that he was out there.
Cook hasn't learned to skin the cat more than one way.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get a quick play the ball, he takes off, and he's the most. There's no
lethal.
better ball running number 9. There was a Kerrod Walters. There was a couple in their day where if there was a gap, they'd take off and they'd nail you, and you could never get to them. Like especially those halfbacks that come in and played 9. Cook's the best at that, but to come and have a bit of deception and bring your players on, and you try to get them one-on-one so the markers don't get. He doesn't have that. I thought he would have developed that by now, and he doesn't. But because he hasn't had to, because he had a dominant number 7 and a dominant number 6 that wanted the ball, so it's sort of like he never had to have that in his game.
Well, they wanted early ball, and he only had to run when he saw a quick play of the ball.
Absolutely.
And the front door was open.
So, to the detriment of whatever the team needed, he hasn't developed as a number 9.
What about, did you think Cody Walker, I know, everybody's been on about his couple of games, but did you think toward the end of that game, maybe he was starting to find himself again?
He created so many chances. The outside backs didn't ice it. He's the creator.
He ended up hooking Jackson Paulo from playing left centre. He put him over onto the right wing and moved Tane Milne into the centres. And once that happened, all of a sudden they did come
His
to life
job's
even
not
more
to
so.
score the tries. His job is to create. The way he goes and he's getting the pass, and then they're obviously not catching and passing or whatever, but for him to create and give that guy time and space, he actually has been doing that. But the outside guys haven't been able to go with him.
All right, boys, we're going to have to take a break because when we come back...
So Souths are in the top 8 for you.
Oh, mate, if Souths don't make the top 8, I'll take you 3 out for lunch, right? Bankstown RSL.
Look at your What about you?
No.
So,
let's go to Mr. Wong's.
Bankstown RSL.
If they make the 8, I'll take us all to Mr. Wong's,
You're
right?
a cat, mate. Oh, seriously, you are. Because
listen.
you got all brave, and then halfway through what you say, I'll
tell
take
you
you all out. You saw our eyes light up.
I'm happy to take that bet.
Bankstown RSL, where you get an earn.
Listen,
and you'd be
to the value
no
of 2.
doubt asking for a discount.
Oh, I'll be just waltzing in there.
Mate, you
Now, listen, what I'm going to do.
You are such a.
You heard it here first.
Mr.
If
Wong.
Souths don't make the 8, I'll take you 3 to Rockpool for lunch. There you go.
Okay, good.
Done.
All right.
Rockpool for
Steak,
lunch.
beers, wine.
And our friends.
No, not your friends, just you 3.
Done.
All right? You 3, Rockpool, lunch if Souths don't make the 8.
And we'll let everyone know what the date is, and if anyone else happens to turn up, then
No, don't anyone else turn up. Now, that's what
we're going to get a Gold Coast.
I'm going to book a table for 10.
Bet for a minute
there's
there.
nothing.
You don't want to go back down that road?
No, I don't want to go down that road again. I'm fairly certain
You
that.
are very good at reneging on your
No. You guys tipped me in. Let's just let
You're
bygones
still
be
running scared
bygones.
from Tom Tate.
10-3, right? In round 2 of the sin bin, you made another silly bet. We're going to Rockpool.
I will take
Who's
you
the
3
chef
to
there
Rockpool.
anyway?
I have got no idea, but it's beautiful.
Neil
I've
Perry
been
or
there.
one of those. Or
I've been there.
Matt
I went on
Moran?
the back of someone
it
else
is one of
paying.
those.
But this
Matty
time,
Moran.
I'll pay.
Who
Early
played
bird
last time you
special,
were there?
pensioners day. Okay. All right. Now listen, let's take a break. And when we come back, Toby Sexton.
Triple M rocks footy.
Welcome back to it. Results so far in the NRL: Storm 15, Souths 14, Penrith 20, Dragons 16, Roosters 26, Manly 12, Titans 20, Warriors 18, Sharks 18, Para 16, Cowboys 26, Raiders 6, and today Knights, Tigers, Doggies, Broncos. High grade MCL sprain, grade 3 for Brian To'o, 6 to 8 weeks. He will miss one of the stars from yesterday's Titans Warriors game. They call him Sexomatic. Toby Sexton joins us. Toby, welcome to the Sunday Sin Bin.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, before we get into it, mate.
Toby, mate, hold on. It's Gordie, Tallis. You
Thanks
can
for
tell
the intro,
Maroon,
too.
mate, listen, you can tell Maroon that's not your nickname. Mate, he's been saying it for 20 minutes that that's your nickname.
What's your nickname, mate?
I've got too many, to be honest. I've
Yeah.
got sexy cheeks. There's too many to keep
Well,
up with.
yeah.
I'll just go along with it.
Yeah, well, just
Which one
not
do you like out of those lot, Anthony?
not so sexy cheeks. I like that. I like that one for you, Hoops. Now, listen, now, a couple of your mates, I don't want to get into a couple of your mates from school might have got in touch, but let's leave that there. Can I ask you, before we get into the interview, Gordie is somewhat of an ambassador at the Gold Coast Titans. Have you even seen Gordie in the flesh?
Yeah, I have actually. Gordie's been making a few appearances lately, which has been quite good. The boys get around him. It seems to be every piss up Gordie seems to be around as well, which is good.
Actually, yesterday there was a nice one, and Toby, like he kept on getting me beers, I kept on getting him lemonades. It's good to get in the shout with young Tobes.
All right, let's talk about footy, mate. Congratulations on the win yesterday. The boys are giving everybody a rap, but they didn't mention the name Beau Firma.
Yeah, he was massive for us yesterday. He kind of flies under the radar with our other backer obviously being Davey, but he's the fittest guy at the club and he's trained the house out in pre-season and I'm sure he's in for a massive year and yesterday's obviously was a really good performance from him as well.
How are you feeling, mate, in terms of your combination with your other key position players? You're obviously still very new to the NRL and AJ Brimson hasn't played a hell of a lot of 5'8", but you look as though you two are really starting to pick up on the little nuances of one another pretty quickly.
Yeah, we're feeling really good. We spent a lot of time together off the field as well, which kind of helped the initial combination. And then we've just gelled really easy over the whole pre-season along with Jaden Campbell at the back. And I think we all complement each other really well too. I think Jaden and AJ are both real kind of X-factor kind of players that just play off the cuff. And I just know I've got to be that steady hand that just gets the team around the park. And if we can do that, well, we're definitely adding value to the team.
Hey, Toby, like just sort of the talk around yesterday was that game last year that you guys probably wouldn't have iced the deal. Obviously, it's a pleasing sign that you can sort of make a few mistakes, but, still get the W at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's obviously not ideal. We've done that 2 weeks in a row where defensively we've been poor at stages in the first half and then something changes in the second half. And we showed a lot of resilience towards that back end of the game yesterday. But obviously we want to start a lot better and defend for 80 minutes. But at the same time, you work so hard in pre-season and I feel like it takes a lot of pressure off you as well getting that first win.
Toby, I heard a rumour. Was there a thing when you were young and before your mum and dad used to take you to go play junior rugby league, did you vacuum the car?
Yeah, I was a bit of I don't know what was to go with that. I used to always be a clean freak, and I had it one game, and I vacuumed the car, and I played well that day, and it was just in my head. But I think it's definitely not got to do with anything like that. But yeah, I've kind of kept that around since then.
So when you go play first grade, do you go over mum's and vacuum the car?
Well, I still live at home, so it's easy access.
Is that
right?
Oh, how good!
And you still do the vacuuming?
Yeah, I still do the vacuuming. It's weird. I don't know. It's just followed on for years and years. So, it's a weird one, but I just try to keep my preparation pretty similar. And if that means vacuuming the car, well, then so be it.
Good on you, mate.
Gordon will be backing his car up soon.
Hey, good to catch up with you, Toby.
No, thanks, boys. Thanks for having me.
Good on you, mate. From the Gold Coast Titans, they had a good win yesterday, and you know what they say, Hoops, when the Gold Coast are going well, the NRL is going well. Everybody says that. Now, Paul Kent, we'll see you on NRL 360.
Yeah,
Mate,
time to
God,
go.
I want to punch you. It's only round two. It's only round
We'll catch you on NRL 360 tomorrow night, mate. Always a pleasure to catch up. And coming in off the interchange bench, one of the best, James Jammer Graham, joins us shortly as Triple M rocks the footy.
To the Triple M Sunday Sin Bin.
And good afternoon once again, everybody, right across the east coast of Australia and via the Listener app or the Triple M you are now listening to. Download Listener, LISTNR, and you can listen to Rugby League or NRL as often as you want, really. Storm 15, Souths 14, Panthers 20, Dragons 16, Roosters 26, Manly 12, Titans 20, Warriors 18, Sharks 18, Para 16, Cowboys 26, Raiders 6, Knights and Tigers coming up at 4 o'clock. Then the Dogs up against the Broncos. And I know everybody across Sydney, all Rabbitohs fans, just wishing Adam Reynolds has a wonderful afternoon leading the Broncos today. We wish him all the very best. And, of course, now we bring in a man by the name of James Jammer Graham, a former Doggies great. Hello, James.
Hey, mate. How you doing?
Fantastic. And thanks to the Mitsubishi Triton, engineered beyond tough. Nothing can frighten a Triton. Let's start off, Jammer, with your toughest player from this round.
Yeah, the toughest player of this round so far, I think it has to go to Jason Taumalolo. I think looking back to last Sunday's game against the Dogs, a lot of people were thinking that victories for the Cowboys would be slim to none. They were really going to struggle. Canberra, obviously, a great performance against Cronulla. Not many people would have given the Cowboys a chance. Jason Taumalolo, I think he really stood up and took the game to the Raiders forward pack. He was back to his damaging best. The week, all the talk around his future, his relationship with the coach, he put that to the side. He left that off the field, and he just got out there and did his job. And Jason's on that 10-year deal, which is always talked about. And for me, I don't know whether Wayne Bennett's spoken publicly about him potentially going to the Dolphins, but with Taumalolo's performance last night, what that does, if he can consistently do that, it puts him back in the frame for being the best lock forward in the competition, which is the competition of the lock forwards is insane. You've got Isaiah Yeo, Trebojevic, Radley, Finucane, DeBellin, all these great locks. Everyone's forgot about Jason Taumalolo. He's got the potential to win back that crown, and that's what he's got to be aiming for this season.
Now, Hoops, let me bring you in here because we haven't really discussed it from a journalistic point of view where we might be with the Payton. We're only getting a lot of this secondhand that Toddy Payton and Taumalolo, there's an issue there. Last night would have helped. Where do you see all of this?
Well, I think Todd Payton said it in the lead up to last night's game that winning will help a lot of the outside noise go away. And I think Jason Taumalolo's performance last night, as James has just pointed out, he got back to the Jason Taumalolo who won the Dally M medal a couple of years ago, where he was coming off the back fence. He was damaging with his carries. He was staying on his feet a lot and continuing to power forward for more metres. And he played bigger minutes than what we've seen from him previously over the course of the last 18 months. Having said all of that, I still feel as though, and we'll speak to Todd Payton shortly, so you can ask him for his view on it. I still feel as though there is certainly something there. I think it dates back to last year and the fact that Jason had, I think it was 3 broken hands and a really stop-start season where he could...
So, I think after round 1, I think Penrith, Todd challenged him and obviously...
That backfired. I think that backfired at the time.
Yeah, because
and that
then,
snowballed into where it's at
because
now.
of Jason's injuries, and he probably couldn't. And then the big guys, someone like Jace, you think that he needs a few games, to get the motor going, and he couldn't get it going last year, so it just compounded on what was said in round 1.
Yeah,
he is a one-off player, Jason Taumalolo.
Yeah, and they signed him on a 10-year deal for a reason, because they saw the potential in that they needed to keep him at the time. He's a franchise player, and the minutes one is a funny one, and talk of being of blowing the player out. Most lock forwards play 80 minutes these days. Now I know Jason's style is a little bit different. He's more of a destructive ball runner. He's more of a prop than he is a lock, or this new lock that we've seen sort of evolve. Maybe with some coaching, Jason might develop that bit more of a passing game, which I think that would then strengthen his running game by default anyway. But for me, the chat around saving Jason Taumalolo for next few years, I don't get that. I think you need to drain him of get Jason Taumalolo to drain him of all his efforts, all his talent, get that all out on the field now, because we're in a results-based industry, and you've got to get the best out of him now, and worry about the future way later down the track. That might not even be Toddy Payton's problem to solve.
I think Clint Eastwood said it's better to burn out than fade away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, burn out, then burn him out. If he's on that much money, and Jason Taumalolo, for me, just watching North Queensland as close, I think, in their new facility, there's 5 big banners of him. He's won 5 players, so he has been the backbone of that organisation. And I think the grand final they went to against Melbourne, 16 or 17? 17, no Matt Scott, no Jonathan Thirst, and everybody thought they were out. He put that club between him and Michael Morgan on his back and took them to a grand final, which no one thought that they were ever going to get there. So he's done some wonderful things. So in that moment, he's cheap. You know what I mean? When you lose those big-name players. And then right now, so over the period of time, is Jason Taumalolo worth his money? Absolutely, every day of the week.
You know what else he does, Gordon? It seems to me like he's very influential within the group. So he brings people with him. Yeah. So he'll get more out of those lower base players or lower paid players. So if you've got a guy on on a small wage, he'll get more out of them just by his very presence, and he'll bring them along with them. He'll dominate games and help those players around him. And then, like I say, in the changing room, his influence seems very positive. If you get a happy Jason Taumalolo and a Jason Taumalolo playing well, he generally brings the rest of the Cowboys with him.
Yeah, there's some guys that just embarrass you. That if I was playing with Jason, he'd embarrass you with his performance.
With his work rate.
Well, mate, they just take the ball up. They do things that you can't do. So there's some players that when you play footy, no matter what they do, like a Steve Renu for me, like one day, Steve wasn't the greatest trainer, right? And every time I'd get to fitness, and we're going really hard, and I reckon the Broncos train harder than any other organisation when we were at our best. And then Pearl would get the last 15 or 20 minutes off, and I'd get the shits. And one day I went over to Wayne, I said, Wayne, what about that? He goes, when you do what he can do, you walk off with him. But I couldn't do. So basically, I can't do what Steve Renouf does. And I couldn't. Yeah. So he knew he was a Ferrari. He knew that Pearl only had to bring his boots on Sunday. He'd done the work. And Wayne was the old sports scientist before it was going, I'm going to burn this guy out. He's my power, explosive center. That I don't need him trundling up and down with these fat idiots.
Bill Malcolm.
Matt, and you're 100% right. Being a good team doesn't mean everyone doing the same job. Thing. It doesn't. You complement each other. You need to complement each other. You know, I remember playing with a guy who was a big front row, 120 kilos. You know, in the old the rules around defense where if you're on the legs, you've got to go back to get back in the defensive line. A 3-man tackle, the person around the legs goes back.
Who are you talking about?
Paul Anderson, his name was. But for him, no matter where he was in the tackle, he didn't go back. But we didn't complain because we needed Paul Anderson taking those big runs.
Yeah.
We didn't need him ripping back on side. You know what, mate? I've got your back. I'll get back in the line for you. I'm not going to take the same runs that you do or create the same path of destruction that you do, but I'll do this for you because that's what teams do. Not everybody doing exactly the same job.
And the problem with coaches, because they want to keep everybody accountable, so when they go in there and coaching, I believe coaching's gone a bit too much to sitting at a screen and this is what we do. And when you look at the screen, everybody looks the same size and everybody's just got a green jersey on or blue or orange jersey on. But when you're out on the field, you know that Alan Langer, I didn't care what he did because he couldn't do the things what Kevy did and Kevy couldn't do things, but it's a team. Now they try to get, like if someone doesn't play like Andrew Johns, if someone doesn't come into the game and he's a number 7 and if he doesn't show straight away that he can manage a game, oh, gee whiz.
Got no game management.
He's got no game management. Yeah, I mean, or someone like, so Sonny Bill Williams or whatever, there is different people. Yeah. I don't want Sonny Bill Williams in the middle of my team making 50 tackles.
Yeah, exactly.
And chasing from marker and burning his energy. Because in the 65th minute, you give him a ball, he steps 3 blokes, he's got a 4th bloke hanging off him, and he pops the ball inside to the halfback, that we run 30 metres and we get the momentum. That's what he brings to your team.
Well, he wins you the grand final like what he did for the Roosters in 2013 when he went through, found James Maloney and crack bang, the game got blown open.
And this is what can happen at some organisations. It's like, these are the rules.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to kick pressure is a non-negotiable.
Yes.
But is Jason Taumalolo getting the best value out of himself by putting on an extra effort in to go put a kick pressure on with a likely result of maybe a 5 metre shallower kick?
Yeah, well said, Jimmy. There's I remember when this got raised at the beginning of last season. It was like, that's not why you, and Gordon, you know this, that's not why you pick Jason Taumalolo in your team.
Kick chase was for people that can't run.
Like,
no, mate. Like, I'm serious. I played with Guy. Glenn Lazarus was our guy though. When he took it up, Petro, Webby. If they're not on the kick chase, I go past them because they don't need to. Because mate, when we're in the deep end down the other end, and he's biting on his mouth guard, Shane Weepkin, he's running back into Paul Harrigan, Mark Sargent, and the boys, and he's taking that buffer. And then Petro's going next, and I'm the third guy. When it gets a little bit easier, I'll go run down there and do a couple of tackles for you because I know what he does for the team, but I don't think that there's enough of that now. Everybody looks inside and starts blaming.
You're right, Gordie. And another great example is when South Sydney were going so well, when they won the 2014 grand final. Isaac Luke played dummy half. He was making less than 20 tackles a game, like all season. But you look at some hookers and it's like they make 50 or 60. South knew that if we want to get the best out of Isaac Luke, he can't make 40 tackles a game because he's not going to bring the stuff that he does with the ball. So what they did was they defended him out of position, so he had to do less tackling. But some poor back rower who got no credit had to make 40 or 50 tackles.
And some bully tried to take their best player out by breaking his face.
Oh, we're having a really
Yeah,
good
good
conversation.
intelligent chat.
And
That was a great
just low blow.
Tell you what, boys.
No, it wasn't a low blow. It was quite high.
We're going to take a break because we've got Toddy Payton waiting to come on, but you've got to go now, Hoops.
Yeah, adios, Anthony. Great
Yep.
to be on board.
We
Good
off
to see
there,
you
mate.
again. Got to get out for the Bulldogs and Broncos. Adam Reynolds' first game.
Okay.
Live
for
on
Brisbane.
SBS.
All right, well, mate, good to work with you again. Glad to see you're on the mend.
Thanks, Anthony.
And we'll take a break. Welcome back to it. Gordie, Tallis, James Graham and Maroon. And it is time for this.
Now, the hot seat. The hot seat.
Yeah, Mitsubishi Triton engineered beyond tough. Nothing can frighten a Triton. So, James Graham, let's have a look at the hot seat. Is it going to, I know you want to talk about concussion protocols.
Yeah, obviously it's a delicate subject. And I've thought quite a lot about it. I've said a fair bit in the past. But it's just interesting to see the attitudes and what the game's trying to achieve. Obviously, I can see the frustration, and I just don't know where I stand on it. I'm continuing to think about it, but I can't help but feel that it's gone a little bit too far. And already we're seeing inconsistencies. The category 1, it's clear criteria there for someone that must leave the field of play and not return. Sean O'Sullivan from Penrith Panthers for me was a clear category 1.
Okay, I want to, just before you go any further,
Why
Gemma.
is that? Can I ask why?
Because he was lay motionless. If you look at the rule, what the NRL have introduced, what the criteria is, if you lay motionless, then you are a category 1.
Do you think he was milking it to get a penalty?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, great.
No, if you're down, the doctor doesn't know he's milking it. And the independent doctor shouldn't be. Oh no, that he's just play acting there. If he's laying motionless, get him off.
Yeah.
And that will stop people doing that as well.
And then we got to make it black and white as a game and stop whinging. This is the new world we live in. And like I'm with you. So in my era, it was a badge of honour to stand up and not show you hurt. Now, to save each other, and I watched Penrith do it last year against Parramatta. Blokes were lying down pretending, that they're injured to stop the game, and then the trainers were running out. It was like chaos. Mate, the trainers were running on to save Penrith when Parramatta, and Penrith went on to win the grand final, and they deserved to. But there's been that showmanship or sportsmanship where behind the scenes the trainers are getting players to lie down. We need that out of the game, and then to protect the player, and then. Jimmy, like earlier, everybody was talking about, the concussion rule. It's bad. I just said it should be the father rule or the mother rule. If that was your son, would you want him to come off? And then that sort of brings common sense into it. Like the Victor Radley, whether he hurt his neck or head, if that's my son there, he plays tough. Just save him, get him off. Let's get him tested.
Yeah, but I really don't like to pull it all into the same conversation around junior sports and professional sports.
No,
I think it is different.
It is completely different.
It's
go watch the kids, and then my kids have all played rugby league and rugby union, and then I've got a little 3-year-old, and he's going to go play rugby league. It is one of the safest games to play. Any parent out there that's driving around now that has gone and watched their little kids play under 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s, it's safe. It's when they get to the adolescence and they're 15 and your kid doesn't grow. I was one of the smaller kids, believe it or not. I'm lucky that I shot up when I was 17 and 18 and then I filled out in time. But I was one of the smaller, skinnier kids getting knocked around. But it set me up to have my career that I had.
Well, Matt, I agree with you. Our game has so many benefits. There's so many benefits that aren't advertised for junior participation in any sport. And that includes contact sport. There are some people that are attracted to it by their very nature. And yes, it's a contact sport, and sometimes it comes with an element of risk. And as a parent, you want to protect your children, but you've got to. I'm not going to tell anyone how to be a father or a parent or anything like that. But we look at sport and sometimes think, oh, that's too dangerous. But if you actually, obviously, this is a very emotional topic when you're talking about your children and stuff like that, and the adverse effects of concussion. Well, if you're going to take your child out of sport because you see something on the rugby league, whatever you do, don't let them get into poetry. Don't let them get into poetry. If you're concerned about your child's future, don't substitute rugby league for poetry. And you can look it up.
Right.
There's poetry. There's things around poetry that the certain. Well, I'm not going to go on anymore, but just trust me on that. Don't let them get into poetry.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and this is one thing that doesn't get spoken about enough. When you look at rugby league, there's a guy going. He played for South, the big fella, and his name's escaped me. I think he went over to play for the Philadelphia Eagles, signed a multi-million-dollar contract. You get Anthony Mundine, that fought for world titles within 10 fights. You get Paul Gallen going in there. You get Sonny Bill Williams that can go play other sports. You get Carmichael Hunt and Israel Folau go play. You get Sam Burgess go win the SAS. You get, I remember years ago they had that Rexona sports person. They had all the sports people come in to one. Billy Slater won it on his ear 3 years in a row. I think rugby league as a grounding helps you so much through life. And I learnt more like me to deal with the pressures of life and to get through life and to go and, I had a coach telling me what to do. I had a scoreboard. I had the fans. I had the media writing about me. It taught me a lot of resilience and what to do in life. I think rugby league, everybody talks about the bad things about it. I think there is so many positives.
Absolutely.
And that's about playing all sports. And I only know because this is the game that I played, but I know what it set me up for. And you playing rugby league as a kid, you could go play any other sport.
It does seem like now that the NRL have got this overcautious approach.
Which is fine.
I get it. I think I understand why they're doing it. But I think what will happen is there'll be attitude changes. It is hard, though, when you've got a performance culture and a win culture at the foundations of what the coach thinks. Obviously, this new doctor now, that coaches are control freaks.
Yeah.
They don't like the control being, or an element of control being taken away from them. So I think it'd be nice, or I think we will get to a point where, a player is removed from the field of play and they're okay and it's just a busted nose, and a coach might turn around in the press conference and say, oh, yeah, that was unfortunate. He's okay, but we understand why they did it.
And that's
it.
And then that's the message that needs to get delivered.
And not, well, he was fine. Well, actually, coach, you don't know. You don't know that he's fine. He might be telling you he's fine, but you're not a doctor.
And that's what I'm talking about, the father. And this is the point I'm talking about, the father. Right. I don't know whether my kid's good or not. So when he's got a runny nose or that, I take him just in case it's not serious. I take him to the doctors and they go, hey, mate, just take this antibiotics, or he doesn't need it. Mate, he just needs a rest. He needs a lot of water. They tell you what to do because I don't know.
Yeah.
So you take him to a professional.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's all what's happening. It's actually like a parent, when their kid's got a runny nose, take them off just in case it's not too serious. Or they got a rash on their body, take them so it's not serious.
Yeah, but I think with the way the coaches talk about it after a game, there's motivation behind why they, if a team's lost, they might look to deflect, the journalist questions onto another issue. But it'd be good to hear them, not give a medical, or not try and give a medical diagnosis. And really, the journalist shouldn't be asking, say the other week, how's Victor Radley? You don't know. You've only seen him for like 2 minutes. Like, really, you don't know. And you should, if we're going to err on the side of caution, and this is not a criticism of Trent Robinson or the Roosters, because I think they're certainly at the very best in terms of management of these type of things. But I just think generally all concussion, and even other stakeholders of the game. So we've got South Sydney coming up against Sydney Roosters this week. What is going to sell that game? What is going to lead? What image or images is going to be on our screens, getting people to tune in and watch?
Burgess running over Sonny Bill. Grand finals. The last minute tries by both teams.
Well, I think the story is it's Latrell v Manu again. So are we going to see that clip in the build up to this week? I think we will, but we shouldn't, because it's head contact. It's contact with the head, but we're going to sell our game on it. We're going to get people to tune in on foul play.
Anthony, we need a new show. This is making too much sense.
He's making too much sense. We get your job in the legal department.
And also, like,
mate, you got to go to Sky News or something like that.
You reckon?
You're wasted here.
Hey, the take-home message from this: don't let your kids get into poetry.
There we go. Triple M rocks the footy.
I love that song.
With the Sunday sin bin. Do you really? You like a bit of Diesel? Bit of Mark Lizotte. I didn't know that.
Is it Mark Lizotte?
That's his real name, yeah.
So it's not Jimmy Diesel or anything?
No, Johnny Diesel, not his real name, no.
You should have saved that for your quiz next week.
Oh, you should have done that, Gemma. Why didn't I think of that? Anyway,
Maybe just keep it. I don't reckon Hoops and Kenty will be listening
No.
now, so just
throw it in.
just throw it
Well,
in.
maybe we
Mate,
could.
I don't listen when they're in here.
Yeah.
They're on race through.
One's eating, one's on the phone.
The other one's backing slow horses.
But anyway, West Tigers fans, stay listening because we've got the whole game for you, of course. Covered by Triple M. Dan Gane will lead the call team with Gordie, Tallis and Jammer. You're on the call as well this afternoon.
That's right, mate.
Well, you have a good call. We'll catch you on Fox League through the week.
Thank you.
And Gordie, Tallis, great working with you again, old mate.
Thank you, Anthony.
Now, we've got that game for you coming up. Following that, we'll have Adam Reynolds' premier game for the Broncos. So that's the Broncos taking on the Dogs, that game in Sydney. So if you're a rugby league fan, we've got both those games coming up for you, one after the other. If you can't get it on the Triple M you're listening to, you can always get it on the Listener app. We do it thanks to Ream, and we do it thanks to Macca's. 2 games on the way as Triple M rocks the footy.